Hello, welcome to Bravery One. Hello, welcome to this Wargamer. I'm your host, Rob. Welcome to Monday Night Age of Sigmar. Me and Nathan fucking Prescott. Nathan, how are you?
I'm doing grand, thank you. And you?
I am doing wonderful. Mainly because I'm joined by everyone on the Twitch chat. Big shout out to you. I've already seen some people who have resubscribed. Mamdare for 37 months. Wow. And Lugnut Stams who says, wah. Big love to you. I hope you're all well. Pete, I see you in the chat. Lord Whale, Prop Joe. Hello, everyone. Big thumbs. Yeah. So first thing, obviously, I have to point out is the fact that neither James or Dan are on the show today. A lot of rumours as to what's going on there, but mainly, Nathan, did you hear what happened with Dan?
No, what happened with Dan?
So he, after the Lumineth reveal at the weekend, he messaged me and he said, "Oh, Encore GM, thanks for resubscribing. I've just bought several hundred of new Slaanesh. Can't wait for you to shit on them. No problem. Get ready. Fucking buckle up." He messaged me. He said, "Hold on, let me read the message out to you." He said, "Hey Rob, won't be able to do the show on Monday. Actually, I'm pretty furious about there being a second Lumineth Battletome. I'm going to go out into the wild and toe punt a moose in the C word. Wow. And imagine that it's those limey bastards who work at Games Workshop. Jesus."
Some poor moose is going to take it. And it should be one of them fellas behind the scenes.
Yeah, he's going to have that's a tough time for him. Grum's like, "Thank you very much for resubscribing." Yeah, that's typical Dan. And James has also quit. He was like, "I'm fucking done with this. How many books do I have to buy to play this damn game?" He said, "I'm going to play Lord of the Rings. That's because that's the only game Meg will let me play." And I was like, okay.
Fair enough. Yeah, I mean, that came with a few books of lore, and they couldn't really stuff that one up too much, could they? So I don't know how the rules work in that. Do they just, like, basically read the story and push the models around doing whatever it says in the story?
It's exactly like that, actually.
Yeah.
As far as they sometimes say hero points a lot and might.
Yeah.
But it's a bit like Nathan.
Legolas, what can your elf eyes see? Meat's back on the menu, boys! And that sort of thing.
That's all they do. That's all they do, I think.
I think, yeah.
Oh, Slytherin, thank you for subscribing. Big love. Grumzag says, "Take a break from Valheim to watch the show." Oh, man, thanks very much. Lovely. Right. So it's just me and Nathan today, and we're going to review the Slaanesh Battletome. Before we do that, we're obviously going to get to the news, which is very exciting. James and Dan will both be back next week from the different sojourns. They actually, just to let everyone know, as much as it's hilarious what I did say, that they're out. Thanks to Speckles for subscribing for 39 months and for making loads of money off this show. Because when we bought Games Workshop on Earth 2, which is now worth, I think, in the thousands of pounds on Earth 2, Speckles bought the car park, which is now worth hundreds of pounds.
Bloody hell.
Did you not see that in the chat earlier?
Is that what that was about? I saw money and I was like, I don't know what's going off in that chat now. So what, that car park's worth some money now, is it?
Like 300 quid.
Bloody hell. Has he been, like, charging people to park there?
No, but I 100% would wear like a yellow high vis.
Yeah.
Speckles, if you want me to start parking there digitally, let me know. Apparently he's in the chat. He just said he got offered £405 for the for
wow.
R2. Yeah, it's pretty good, right? Oh, Elko Reb, thanks for donating 1,000 bits to the show. Listen, if you guys keep up the bits donations and general donations, we'll never invite Dan and James back. That's the plan. So let us know. That's awesome of you, Elko Reb. Thank you so much. Right, we're going to go on to news. First thing, we're going to do news, but after we can't do news until I find out how Nathan's been doing. Nathan, you still painting up that Mega Gargant. How are you how's it going, and how are you? You been all right?
Yeah, I've been all right. The Mega Gargant has been a bit of a disaster, to be honest. I decided to put on a heavy wash because I just wanted the skin to be a bit darker.
Okay.
And then, but it's too dark, so so there you go. And also the wash pulled a bit in places which looked a bit naff. So I don't know what to do now. I am gonna give it a big dry brush and maybe try and highlight it back a bit. So I've gone backwards probably. Now it's only about 27.3% done because I've got to
Oh,
redo
you've gone
this.
backwards.
Yeah, I've gone backwards. It's fucking annoying.
Your internet broke there, Nate. What did you say, bro?
Yeah.
Oh, no.
It's terrible, yeah.
What did you say there, bro?
How many times? It's gone backwards. Wait,
Okay.
if I shout, it doesn't help, does it?
Yeah.
No, it's gone backwards. About 27.3% done now. So, because I've got to redo a lot of stuff to the skin. So,
Okay.
there you
All
go.
right.
Yeah.
So, how else have you been? How else have you been?
Yep, all good otherwise. Just plodding on work-wise. Obviously, we've been moving house as well, so that's taken up a lot of energy. But we're getting there.
Unfortunately, when Nathan says we, he doesn't mean me anymore, which is sad for times. But but you and your partner have been moving houses. That's fun. Is the burlesque room set up?
Yeah. At the moment, it's a burlesque and Warhammer room.
I mean, perfect. I would say
great combination. So yeah, there's a load of wigs over there. I could wear a wig, I guess. Feather boas. Yeah.
We've seen you online in a feather boa. I mean, if you wore a wig, maybe we'd get too turned on. So let's keep it PG for now, if that's okay.
Yeah, that's fine.
All right. Well, so on to news, because actually,
well, how about your hobby and etc. etc.
Oh, so I've been painting up terrain for the venue. I painted up the big dwarf tower. I don't know if you.
Yeah.
I haven't sent you a picture yet, but I'm going to do like a big kind of like reveal shot of some of the terrain boards when I get round to it. So I've been doing that. So
Yeah.
I think I've done like all the large pieces for the dwarf board, and I've just printed out some barricades. So I'm going to do some stuff with that, and then that's all done. So that's pretty happy. Moving on to... So yeah, that's been really good. And I haven't put the wash on yet. I've mixed up the wash, which is like a mixture of floor polish and some other stuff. A little bit of a hack sent to me by our man Henry Steele. So I'll give you an update how that works at some point. So yeah, that's it. All I've been doing really is just doing terrain. Like I've been doing it in quite, I would say, fairly detailed. It looks quite nice, and I'm quite happy with it. Zydeguy says, you try the Montana Nightfall on any models? Do you have any issue with washes? No, I haven't yet, but I have heard, Zydeguy, that they are a little bit hydrophobic. So I can test it. That I know that I need to test that for you. So I might just do that tomorrow for you. I might just try and paint up a giant or something that I've got sprayed and see how it works. But I haven't found
What's hydrophobic? The spray.
Yeah, the spray. Because I've been using this Montana. Because across the road at this is going to be useless to anyone watching internationally, but anyone who comes and visit the TSN Arena, across the road in like that creative quarter.
Yeah.
There's a graffiti shop, or a spray can shop, or whatever you want to call it, and they just sell like spray cans there with all the colours of the rainbow, and they're £4, Nath.
Bloody hell, that's quite good because I've got a can of Montana metal spray. It covers so nicely. It's really nice spray.
Yeah.
But £4. I don't know how much I paid for that, but yeah, £4 sounds great. I'm in.
Yeah, £4.
Mm-hmm.
So bargain. So I've picked up a bunch of different colours. So this, I'm doing some stuff here right here. You guys can see. So I've been printing this up. So that was obviously this blue plastic material, and now it's this kind of grey. It's gone on really. Paint's gone on it really nice so far. But yeah, wash is my next thing to go through. So yeah, that's what I've been doing, and I've been really looking forward. Like I've been really enjoying the process. If I'm honest, it's been pretty fun. So yeah, and then I don't think I'm going to do the dwarf board's getting a lot of detail because it's a lot of a detail on the actual terrain. But like some of the stuff, like there's a mushroom board, and the mushrooms aren't going to require like loads and loads of detail, just some like blending to make it like kind of look quite nice. And then it's just big stalks and things. I printed out this. I sent you a picture of that amazing Rome gate.
Yeah, that was pretty cool, and looks like it fit super well into Age of Sigmar. So yeah, it's a proper good gate.
Yeah, I'd say it's twice as tall. It's basically a Rome gate. It's twice as tall as a normal Rome gate. It's just got like a very chunky sort of bottom with loads of like rocks and stuff. So it looks awesome. Like, and I'm really happy with it. So I'm doing 2, and I think I might do like maybe like a Rome gate graveyard, or maybe like, I don't know, a Rome gate builders thing. I don't know what I'm going to do. Something like that. It's going to be super fun. But yeah, it looks. I need to see this Rome gate. It's huge speckles. I'll send you a picture later. But it looks wicked, and I'm really happy with it. So yeah, that's it really. And I mean, actually, that leads us on to the news, which is probably the most exciting news that we've had in a while. Now, I am going to the roadmap. Not from Games Workshop, but from the British government has been given to us about when we might be able to hold events and live life in the future. Now, obviously, a couple of things to say about that. Number one, that's got me really excited about holding events, putting the Super Series back on, everything. It gives you that. It's still months away, which is something important to note. Some people in other countries aren't in the same position as us, so as happy as I am, I understand that you guys are having a tough time where you are, which is rubbish, and I'm sorry for you, and the stream streak will be here for you still, and I hope that that's enough, like, that, what I'm doing in the world to make it a little bit better. And it's still months away. Like I think now in my head, end of May, we might put an event on here, maybe, like, which is 4 months away still. And then that obviously has got time to change, and then it really does depend on like infection rates, because even though the government have said end of May will be fine, if I don't think it's safe for people to come here and play, I won't put an event on. So at the minute, exciting is, I mean, it really means nothing, does it? It's like, we're going to do some stuff, we're like, cool.
Sometime we'll be allowed to play Warhammer, and sometime it'll make sense that we can play Warhammer. Yeah. And hopefully it's sooner rather than later.
Yeah. So, anyway, so that's kind of some exciting news. It's got me excited today, even just at the prospect of going to events, holding events, has got me really excited. Whether or not that works out, so I know that there's loads of things to think about, and there's still a tough few months ahead, getting the actual rent sorted for Honest Wargamer, not for Honest Wargamer, for the venue and other stuff, which is a great time for me to thank everyone on Patreon and everyone who subscribes. You guys are great. Thanks for supporting us so that we're able to get through these tough times. Loads of love. Appreciate you loads. And everyone who listens to the podcast, which is nice. So that's the kind of exciting news. Did you hear about that today? Did you have any thoughts on it?
Yeah, no, it was. I heard it on the radio as I was driving home today. So yeah. They obviously, I think they start with schools, don't they? And then work their way up to everybody else. So, yeah, just be good to be able to get out and see people. It's still a long way off, I think. Like you say, but it's the end is in sight, hopefully. So,
and again, and I think someone said in the chat, I still intend to be a responsible TO. So whether or not, if the government says it's fine, but I don't think it's fine, I still won't be holding the events. So that's an important point I want to make sure that I'm crystal clear on. But yeah, garden hammer's a thing. I mean, honestly, just being able to see some of my buds outside at a cafe will be a dream at this stage. So that's all good. So yeah, we have a higher rate than in the summer, so can't allow. So yeah, okay. Yeah, it's going to be rough. Work planning for lockdown 4 in July. Oh, okay. Right. All the excitement and all the disappointment. Okay, all right, whatever. Let me just have a dream today. Yeah, let me believe the beautiful lie that is today. And if it doesn't work out, then fine. Real Mr. Winters, thanks for joining us. Maybe it's been so long that one has got new and effective hand dryers. I doubt it. I think you put new ones in, actually, get to the chopper, mainly because of this show. We mugged them off so hard that they put new ones in. And the guy that runs it sent me a message. Anyway. Oh, Wolfie Skajal, I hope your root canal was okay. Oh, man, that's rough.
What?
Yeah, let's
somebody doing root canals. Oh.
Right, Nathan, Twitch chat. What did you
Yeah.
think of the reveals at the weekend? I'm very excited. I'll start you with Lumineth. Give me your opinion. How did you feel about the Lumineth?
Yeah, I mean, more along the same line of what they had before. Just more variety, I think. So they all looked very elfy, fancy elfy. What was my favorite one? Maybe the Fox guy is still my favorite, I think. If I had to choose one. Yeah. They've still got ridiculous hats, which is great. And a few of them have got bottles for my gits to get, so that's cool. We'll be after them bottles, boys.
Nicking them bottles is the most important bit, I think, at this stage. What did you make of... so some people... Nico says the flying fart was the worst. How did you feel about Goku on a cloud?
Flying what?
Goku on a cloud.
The dude on the cloud.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was all right. He was a bit like Monkey, wasn't he? From the old television shows. So, yeah, was all right, if you like that sort of thing.
How did you feel about the giant flagware holder? That was the one that really done me in, because that was huge.
Oh, yeah, it reminded me of one that I made myself for my dwarf army in 8th edition. I got carried away and stuck about 5 flags together, and then I was like, fucking hell, this little dwarf's going to struggle carrying this thing around. So I had to just say the runes carry themselves or something. I'm sure there's a magical explanation.
Always
like
is.
There is for most of the stuff, yeah. So, yeah, very pretty. Yeah, fancy. Everybody likes a nice flag. Hopefully we get like a BSB type effect, and maybe some of the other armies in the world can have some BSB effects. I like the old BSBs that we used to have. So
yeah, I brought that up the other day. I think that's actually it would be quite cool to see BSBs return. Like, you know, at least in the support role, right? Because in some situations the support role is like a weird one because it really relies on what the model looks like or something else. It at least gives them something to like aim towards as a role. They're just like, it's a BSB. Make up a rule for that, and that's cool, I think.
Yeah. I think they had a few BSB rules at the beginning, but I can't remember any offhand. But yeah, if they've got a battlefield role and just another nice little buff piece for the army, something for the sentinels to target, basically.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely true. All right, so I get so the terrain piece. Got any thoughts on that?
Yeah, that was actually quite nice. I like that terrain piece. That was cool. Very yin and yangy type. It was quite a nice looking terrain piece. Looks very. Hopefully, it's fairly stable. Looks like it might be a little bit unstable. Mm-hmm. But in game though, I can just imagine what things are going to get lumped up on top there. So, interested to see how terrain rules go with a new edition that we're expecting at some stage.
Yeah, it's a good point. So Nate's obviously making a point there that, of course, you might be able to put models on it, and therefore they provide cover, and you could lump all your models on top of it if they got the fly keyword, or even if they haven't, you could deploy them on, and then they could just be like, I'm stuck this to the side. You just end up with a situation where you'll end up with like 4 bolt throwers, like blue tack to the terrain piece, and be like, these are on here, and also they have +1 save.
And it just means that they're like for foot slogging troops that have got to try and get there and charge them. When they charge, they've got to charge up those little streams of water. Just nightmare such a scenario for
You're right, because they haven't put fucking salmon in the game, have they? Like, if the Lumineth had a salmon, they'd be fine getting up that water. But they've got eels. They're rubbish at getting up river. Is that right?
I think eels can swim up rivers. Yeah. They also do a similar thing, migrating.
Do they?
But I mean, but not everybody driving eels or salmons or anything like that. Some of us like to walk where we're going, and
You're telling me a grot's going to struggle to climb up a waterfall onto the top of a shrine?
Yeah, it's just going to be a nightmare. Got to charge up that waterfall, up that shrine to go and fight Teclis, who's prancing about on the top like some sort of prat that he is. Not some sort of prat. He definitely fucking is a prat.
So I think one of the key points for everyone from the release is that obviously that terrain feature is already very abusable, very much like we saw in Game 1 of the Hammer Time coverage at the weekend, and like we've seen many times from the Identican and their boats. One of the things that we would all love to see, obviously, in Age of Sigmar in the future is some more clarity on terrain rules. And with the introduction of these large-scale terrain pieces for faction terrain, obviously the need for that is more and more relevant as time goes on. But
yeah, because they look great. They're nice-looking pieces. It would just be nice if they weren't quite so detrimental to the game playing side of the game.
No, I agree with you. I feel like it needs to be clarified very quickly. Also big shout out to everyone in the chat who's joined us. MJ Pegasus, and lovely to see you. Xenothal Business, War Chebby, Colonel Cabbage, Big Goldfish, loads of love. Zirak, hello everyone. Hope you're all well. Papa Peen, lovely to see you. Skillshot. What's the betting? Deep can only get one boat in the new book. High betting, Gary. I think that's a high bet. Nath, I think it's divided opinion really online, and I wonder what your opinion is on this. How do you feel about the new book that's come out? Lumineth getting a new book 9 months in, there being only a limited edition book available previously in the box set. Have you got any feelings on that?
Oh, I mean, obviously, if you're a Lumineth player, you're a bit pissed off, aren't you? Mm-hmm. So, yeah.
Simple as that.
Yeah, I mean, it's you can't say if you're a Lumineth player that you're happy with that situation. So, yeah, I mean, they've not done themselves any favors with that. I don't know if there's a reason for that. Was the first book supposed to have been done several months ago or something? Are they supposed to have had a year or 2 years worth of play out of it before they get the new book? Or so have schedules been messed up, or is it just really just bad planning?
So one of the things that is important, I think, to talk about, obviously, is that Benjamin Savage did a really good series of tweets actually as a deep dive, and if you actually look, he points out several times where they've cut out sections of the rules. And then they so it's this affects any unit with a command ability. It's no units in the book have the command ability, sort of thing. You're cool. So it's clear that what they've done is they took the book and they just cut it in half, or maybe cut it into 3/4. We don't know, but they wrote the whole book as a whole and then they cut it and then they just turned it into 2 books. And I think that's got very little to do with schedule releases, is what I'm trying to say. I don't think that's much of a drama. It looks like. I think ultimately, it's tough, right? Because everyone wants those sweet new models. Everyone's if they gave you a Gits book now and then they gave you another Gits book in a year and it was a wave of new models and another wave of new models, you'd be chuffed about all the new models, right?
Yeah. Just slightly annoyed about having to buy books, but yeah, I mean, yeah, it's just it's just a bit sucky that you've got to buy the book. So the first book is pretty much null and void because the second book's got all the first book stuff in it, or are they just separated totally?
No, the way it works is, first book, you either have to own the first book and then buy Techless, Broken Realms Techless, or you can buy the new book and it's got everything in it until the next new book.
Yeah. See, if it was my army, I would want to have all the books that the army's got, so I'm not missing out on any of the lore or any of the artwork and stuff. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I don't know. It would, yeah. It is annoying.
It's annoying. It's a bit of a cash grab. At the end of the day, we all enjoy the game. We all enjoy the models. Having to constantly pay for books feels like a bit of a grind in some situations. And then do we think the new Lumineth Longboard's Tome will have new lore in it and not the last book? I do think it will. I think it'll have all the lore that was in Techless. It feels like now what we're actually seeing, if you think about it, with Marathi and then the Daughters of Cain book, like it very much seems like what we've actually got is they wrote a new bunch of Battletomes, and then they just released. They were like, oh, we'll chop bits of that out and we'll put this into these Broken Realm books. Is what it looks like. Whatever. Who cares? Like they fuck about plenty, and it's not an issue. I feel sorry for my Lumineth dudes who feel hard done by it. That's rough. Just don't buy the books. That's all I'm gonna say. Like, I'm not gonna say that you can get them anywhere for free, because that would be bad. But I'm not saying that. But I'm saying don't buy the books, because fuck them. Buy the models you want for that amount of money. Don't buy the books. So that's my vibe. Be'lakor, though, I was really excited about. New Be'lakor model, Nate. That looks sweet.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't. They only showed little bits of it, but yeah, I guess. Again, it's not really one of my factions, so I'm not that bothered. But yeah, but they also hinted that there would be a Broken Realms Be'lakor style book as well.
Or at least Be'lakor would feature in the Broken Realms, potentially.
Okay.
We're not sure. I feel like it will be Broken Realms Be'lakor, but it might not be. I'm very excited for that. I think it's good. I would say one of the things about the Broken Realms books is push the narrative forward a bit, which I'm super pro, and I feel that's great. And the new Be'lakor model is great because old Be'lakor looked rubbish, so whatever. And then what else?
Yeah, he's a super popular dude, and yeah, it will be interesting to see if they change his rules maybe as well. So we don't have that wanky 5-up thing that we have to keep rolling.
What if they turn it into a 4-up? How will that change your mind?
Yeah. He's not going to get any more popular in my mind, that's for sure. He's a dickhead. So, yeah. If that's the case.
Based on that logic, Rob, there's a new Stormcast Cities coming. Zaddy Guy, I would assume so. I feel like what they've done is they've just ripped out a bunch of stuff from upcoming publications. They've just put them into these Broken Realm books, I think is what we're seeing. Yes. And then, so Be'lakor, Broken Realms, that's fun. Looking forward to that. Really looking forward to that. And Nathan, I mean, I'm sure like everyone, you're loving the look of the Warcry box. Yeah, sorry, not Warcry box. The
Curse
Warhammer
City.
Quest. Yeah, Curse City.
Yeah, looks cool. Like I say, it's very similar to, well, not very similar, but it's fairly along the lines of Zombicide, which I've got into recently. So yeah, looks like a fun sort of thing. Those little board games have become more. Well, they've been about the only thing you can play over lockdown. Playing them with the girlfriend or playing them online with people. So yeah, sort of got into that a bit more. So it's, looking forward to that. That's seeing what that is. Hopefully, it's not too expensive. I can imagine it's going to be cost an arm and a leg, but yeah, it may be splitting it out between a few people.
Like a little club box or something.
Yeah.
So all of you on the that's cool. That's a cool idea. Yeah, I think people are thinking it's somewhere between £95 and £120. Like, okay. I love all of the models. I just can't justify it right now to purchase that for a game that I'm not going to play either. Like right now, maybe I'll play it in the future, but like I'm a little bit worried it'll sell out and some other stuff. But I'm not going to let FOMO like dictate my life. Like if I get it, I get it. If I don't, I'm sure I'll find someone who gets it and I'll play it at some point. But it does look really good, Nath. Like the models look good, and I haven't played it. Everyone's saying that it's like maybe a bit like Zombicide, but maybe a lot like that other tabletop crawl, like the Dungeon Quest game that Gloomhaven. Everyone says it's like that, and Gloomhaven's got really good reviews. So yeah, that's fun. I'm just always a bit like like I was a bit like this with Underworlds, a bit like this with Warcry. Like it's cool, but it never really catches my imagination ultimately.
Yeah. Just see just see if there's a catch. Like I did play quite a bit of the Underworlds at the beginning, but it just became a pain with all the cards constantly changing. So, but then if this is more of a game like Gloomhaven, that sort of thing, then yeah, fair enough. Sounds good. I'll hopefully get a chance to get a copy and maybe play some games, yeah.
Oh, so you're actually excited about getting it? You think it might be something that's on your list to get?
Yeah, might be. Definitely, yeah. Because I think army-wise, I've obviously got my Gits. I've still got some painting to do on that. And then I've got Iron Jaws, which I can expand on. Kind of interested in maybe expanding the Bone Splitter side of that, but I'm not really looking at getting new armies. And obviously, I've got my Dispossessed who will be in their cities. So yeah, I don't think I'll be looking at a new army at any time soon. So maybe that could be a nice little project.
Yeah, that's fun. Okay, yeah. There was also a new talking about Bone Splitters. There was a Bone Splitters Underworld band as well.
Yeah.
How did you feel? They didn't have toenails. I just want to point that out. I know you're not bothered about that, but I just need to say it.
Oh, okay. I didn't look that close. Fair enough. Cool. Didn't have toenails. Fair enough. That threw me a bit. Yeah. I mean, they'll fit quite nicely into the existing model range, I think. So they're sort of updated and a bit more fancy pants, but they won't look out of place next to the current Bone Splitters.
No, but they definitely have like an aesthetic, right? It's interesting if you look at the difference between those and the Warhammer Quest stuff. The Warhammer Quest stuff is like more slender. There's like a very like chunky feel to the Bone Splitter. Right?
Yeah. I would say probably look a little bit more cartoony, really.
I think so. I thought that. I don't want to say that and that be a negative. Like,
no.
Some people like the style, but
yeah, I like that style, so I'm in. Yeah, I do like the Bone Splitter force. It is tempting to add some to my Iron Jaws.
Okay. Yeah. They look good. And you love a good Warcry warband.
Oh yes. Oh yeah. It's the Warcry warbands are fun to paint up or whatever. These are Underworlds, aren't they? So whatever. It's all the same thing. Some little game.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. It is all the same thing.
I know it's not the same thing. I think Warcry could be a cool game to play, but it's just a case of you've got to get close enough to somebody else to play it. That's not happening. So it sucks.
Oh, Wolf Priest Kajal is just having a 43-minute root canal while he's listening. Keep it going, Nathan. Pain is my friend. He's listening while having a root canal. That's mental. I wish I could cry.
I'm sure that'll happen.
Yeah.
The Bone Splitters look cool.
Okay.
So
I mean, all in all, for the Age of Sigmar community, like at this point, we know that they're taking the piss with the books. So, like, make of that what you will. Like, my decision is just not by the fucking book. So that's my decision.
Yeah, fair enough. I mean, the War Scrolls will eventually get onto the app at some stage. So
well, thank you for bringing that up.
The information is there.
Yeah, thank you for bringing that up for me, because actually that is the thing I wanted to talk about next, actually. Because this is like a quality of life issue that I feel like we don't talk about enough, and obviously you're unlikely to hear on like the Pleasant for Plastic shows, is that like the ecosystem for Age of Sigmar has been like beat up over the past year. Like there've been a bunch of like a royal bunch of C-bombs about it. I'm just saying C-bombs today. I don't know why. Like, but they have, because like there was the 6 months where they weren't doing any updates because they were doing the 40k app terribly, by the way. And then like they didn't update the app at all. And then I saw Tony today said that War Scroll Builder is updated. But honestly, Nath, it fucking makes me cry laugh. They're like Slaanesh Battletome, and you're like, oh my god, so excited. And then they're like pre-order it. You're like, pre-ordered it, and they're like, it arrives on the Saturday, and you're like, you get it, yeah, and you're like, this is so good. And you're like, cool, I've read it all, I love this, I'll build an army. And you were like, I go on War Scroll Builder, oh, it's not updated. I go on Azir, oh, it's not updated. Cool, all right. Like who's the like? I know Tony's the guy that does War Scroll Builder, but like, what are they all fucking surprised? They're like, we could never have predicted this coming. Like, it's actually terrible community management, terrible support for the community, that you can't just like get your book and be like, cool, I'll build my list now. Like, it's fucking weird. Super weird. And everyone's like, well, why don't you use pen and paper? And I'm like, well, do I have the Saves to Darkness book to fucking hand as well? Do I also have the Beast of Chaos book to hand as well? Like fuck off. Like, it's a shit argument. Like, it's like, anyway, it just bothers me.
Yeah.
It bothers me. And then today, when we were prepping for the show, you were like, I'll read all the War Scrolls on the app. And they weren't even on the app.
Yeah. So I don't know what's there. I've just checked the App Store to see if I can update it, and it's not due an update. So normally it comes up saying the new War Scrolls are here, ready. But
when it updates,
normally,
does it delete your lists?
I don't know. I don't use the Azure thing for making lists, so I wouldn't know.
No one does.
No.
I block people on Twitter when they write a list in Azure, screenshot and send it to me. I just block them. I just immediately block them. I'm like, well, I don't need to talk to you at all. Is what I think.
Yeah.
But anyway,
it is I mean, it's compared to War Scroll Builder, Azure is a weird way to write a list, but I guess some people like it. So
some people like being weirdos. Wolf Priest Gajal, who is currently having a root canal, Nathan wants you to do a little dance for him because he's been listening for years.
There you go. How can he actually see whilst he's having his?
I don't know. I don't know what position you're
face.
listening to a show while having a root canal, but that's really good. Games Workshop has you pay for the services here as well as regardless of the cost. You are paying for the service to get updated and have what you need at leisure. Name another company who have you pay for a service that doesn't update their app. They can't. It's terrible. I just wanted to point it out there. I just wanted to put it out there in the world. Someone needed to say it. I'm sure it's frustrated a whole bunch of the community. I find it hilarious. Like, they're just, oh, Gebs, thank you for resubscribing. The fact that they're just like shocked Pikachu face every time they get a release. They're like, we could have never predicted this release. How will we update our app? Like, we were already, for some reason, as a community, okay with it being updated later anyway. Like, it's like, it's actually maniacal, is what it is. It's just brilliant.
Yeah.
It's just really good. Whereas I have a PDF of the entire Battletome already. Like, it's fine. Like, whatever. You idiots. So that was the other piece of news. What was the other? That's all the news. That's all the news. I just wanted to bring that up because it's just done, right? And whatever. So it's fine.
Did you guys do the My Warhammer thing? Is your basket full of £300 worth of stuff? Just on the off chance?
So shout out to John over at Seasons of War. He says, I'm just chiming in. I have zero intentions to buy the new Lumineth Battletome or Texas Broken Roads book. Still an avid Lumineth fan and player, but I want my money going towards models, not wasting paper. I feel I agree with that, absolutely. I don't know what you're talking about. Oh, they migrated everyone to a My Warhammer app and you can put some models in it to win them.
Yeah, potentially to win it, so...
I think it's very unlikely that my name would ever get drawn out of a hat.
If your name got drawn out the hat, they'd shove it straight back somewhere else. Not back in the hat, probably, but somewhere else. Yeah. I was just wondering. It would be a good question to ask people what the £300 worth of stuff was that they had put in there.
That is a great question. What £300 worth of stuff did you put in your basket? Twitch chat. What did anyone? Sorry. Games Workshop have created a My Warhammer app so they can track your data, and they've given away like a pretty pathetic amount of money. £300 is incredibly weak source for you to try and win. But anyway, what did you? £300 of croaks is a great suggestion.
It's not. It's a terrible suggestion. You need less of those fuckers around the place.
Oh my god, Cygnus Maximus. This is the perfect time to get that unit of Scryer Acolytes that everyone's always wanted.
That's true. You could probably get half a good, decent-sized unit going.
You could, yeah. Plymouth Troll Slayers has put 20 cockatrices in so he could corner the market on cockatrices, which is a good call. Tom Whitbrook's done Iron Hills Dwarves. They're beautiful models. They're really good. 50 known oils is a great fucking goal.
How many oils? 15.
50. I actually don't. How much 50. Aren't they? How much are they each? Are they £4 each?
Well, if he's spent all 300 quid, that'd be £6 each then, surely.
Yeah, 6. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. But yeah, anyway. I didn't have enough data to decide what cost £300. No, I didn't put anything in my basket. I didn't think about it.
Yeah, I mean, if you're a Lumineth guy, you could just try and buy all your books, maybe.
and your War Scroll cards and your dice and all your other business. Yeah. I hadn't thought about that at all. 2/3 of a Khorne Dragon is a great suggestion. It came up a little bit today with Owen on the stat show, Nathan, that it would be so fun to show like a non-Age of Sigmar player the Khorne Dragon and put Croak next to him, and then just say to that person, be like, which of these two terrifies you?
Yeah. Which one of these is gonna win this battle?
The answer is,
Go
on.
Take the dragon off.
Yeah.
Take your toys off, mate. Yeah.
Take him all the way off. I didn't do that. I wasn't overly interested in it. Like, and I always buy my stuff from third-party people anyway, like not directly from Games Workshop. So, whatever. I don't know why I'd make it. I buy their. I bought my Battletomes. I used to buy my codexes and Battletomes on iTunes, but you can't buy them digitally for 40k anymore. Really excited about not being able to buy digital copies of Age of Sigmar Battletomes. That's going to be super fun. Did you know about that? Have I told you about that?
I think I'd heard that, yeah. But can you buy them in the app, or do you have to buy the physical copy?
No, you can't even buy them in the app. You have to buy
because they've got
physical...
an app, haven't they?
They've got an app, but you can't even buy them in the app.
Oh dear. So so you can't get the books digitally?
No, not at all, in any platform. So you have to buy a physical book, which unlocks a code, and that code unlocks the app.
These fuckers hate trees. Have you seen what they did with Silvernet and what they're doing with books?
They do hate trees. They hate trees and fun, I think, are the two things that they really hate. Talking about hate and fun, should we talk about the Slaanesh Battletome?
Yeah. I mean, that's not very progressive. I imagine they did that with porn. You'd have to buy a physical copy before you could... Oh, that'd be a nightmare.
Nathan, anyway. Come on. We're from the generation where you didn't even buy porn. You just went into the woods and you found it in a bag.
This is true. And there were no codes, I think.
There were no codes. Then, wait, what's everyone in the chat saying? They hate mushroom bases too? Wow, strong. They do.
They just hate being able to use a fucking tape measure properly. Dickheads. Fucking...
yeah, they do hate it. Can't get digital, and Brexit means I can't get physically. 2021 is a bold new world, says Rob Kelly. I'm so sorry. Said that this was a good book, so I think Rob will agree. Barry Gallister, get ready. So the Slaanesh Battletome. Battletome. Let's do a review. 47 minutes in. Let's start this, gentlemen. I don't know what you want me to say. If you want me to just TLDR it, overview. That's what the pro YouTubers are doing nowadays. Let's give it an overview. It has. It's not a joke that's ever going to work. But Nathan, after, asked me about the joke. That's brilliant. But I won't do that. Okay. But the book itself is an uncohesive mess of overpriced war scrolls that don't work or integrate at all, and may have been written by intern Matt. He could have done a way better job, like an afternoon. There's your TLDR. Competitively placed, I imagine this book will do like 3-2, 2-3, like at best. If the points get cheaper for the book, then you'll end up with a cheaper book of very expensive models that look great, but are still basically shit. What I'm saying is nothing in this book is quality, and the only way that the book can get better competitively is if you make it cheaper. So you've got a non-elite army, you've just got a chaff army. Everything in your book is chaff. That's your army. Fatacross might be okay. That's my TLDR. That's my kind of overview before we get to it, Nath. But maybe like you have done before, you'll change my mind.
Sure.
Mask is good, sure. TLDR, then let's talk about Stonks. Yeah, wow. That's the meanest thing you've said about me, and you've been pretty rude. Sorry, intern Matt. Love you loads.
That sounds. He's a clever guy. That guy. He would have written a much better book.
Yeah. Now, shouldn't have to qualify this because I talk about this game so fucking much. At this point, if you engage with me in any way, you should know that I love the game. So it's not my fault that it fucking sucks. Yeah? It's just my opinion that it fucking sucks. So, and if you don't agree, fucking brilliant. I'm super happy. But we don't get any free copies of the book, nor do we have a store where you can buy any of these models from. So not that interested in telling you that it's any better than I think it is. Now, the real mission for you guys is to prove me wrong. That's all it is. And if you don't want to, then that's fine. However, Nathan, positive news, it's made Beasts of Chaos better.
Has it?
Well,
how's it done that?
Well, number one, it's given them someone to beat up. That's good.
Oh, yeah. Cool.
It's given... what's their mother fellas called? Sylvaneth, someone to beat up. Also, the depraved drove inside it makes the Beast of Chaos a little bit better, so that's nice. So you might
nice.
Yeah. You can prove me wrong. You can play in TTS tournaments where Slaanesh have appeared. Oh, almost none at all under the old rules. Blizzbarb archers are not OP, Adam, and you're a fucking nugget. So I just want you to know that. Right, so let's talk about the actual book, shall we, Nath? So the main... Do you have any experiences of the old Slaanesh, and have you got any sort of TLDRs? How did you feel about it?
Yeah, I mean, they were... so it was mainly around the demons. You didn't see much, or sometimes you'd see the beastmen, but you didn't see much of the mortals. And they were all about making you fight last, whilst they beat you up mainly with keepers. I don't think there was much else that did a lot of fighting. I think the hell are they called? The demon. What are they? Not seekers. What are they called? The
Keepers of Secrets?
No, that's the big demon. Oh fuck! I've got a picture of it in my head.
Go on. Use your words. Visualize it for me.
Can't find the word. What were they called? Fiends. Yeah, them. So yeah, the fiends were quite fighty, but they were just probably not pointed right. But they had a nice rule set, I thought. So yeah, mainly keepers and demonettes. And the singing, the girl with the harp. Yeah.
Yeah. So, traditionally, the competitive face roll lists that we saw play were, just multiple keepers in Supreme Cyberites, and then they would use that to farm and generate depravity there, and they would obviously make you strike last. They doubled the price of what everything would cost in depravity, then hilariously released Selesky's Host the week after, which was my favourite timeline. I was like, the Large Hadron Collider has definitely fucked everything up because this is hilarious. Yeah, or someone engaged with it, got a sense of humour, which honestly, having worked there for 2 years, isn't true. And I thought that was a good time. And they changed the Locus as well, so it was a 3+. But they've changed the book pretty significantly now. So let's talk about some of those things that they've changed in the battle traits. So this is if you play Slaanesh. They've changed a couple of things. The first one is Euphoric Killers, which is 6s to hit only in melee, are going to cause 2 hits, or 3 hits if the unit has 20 or more models, which is quite nice. Although, if you play just... and most importantly, this is only on Hedonites of Slaanesh units. So only on Hedonites of Slaanesh units.
It has to have the Hedonite keyword, doesn't it?
Yes, and so that means that your Warriors of Chaos, your Marauders, your Beasts of Chaos, anyone that you would be bringing into your army because you were key marking them or putting in a battalion or whatever, they no longer get it, which is a bit of a negative because really the only unit that you're going to get 20 or plus models on is going to be Demonettes, which I actually quite like in this book. But there's been a lot of I've been involved in the conversation about this book for a while. Since the book came out, I've been in the Slaanesh chat, I've read everyone's opinion on it. I've seen the back and forth from loads of different people. Shout out to Kimbo, who's been having some pretty concise thoughts. Vince, I've been talking to Vince about it a lot as well. I'm speaking to Adam. I've been speaking to a bunch of different people. When we go through this book, and also I want to clarify what I mean by competitive. When I talk about competitive, I mean the ability to take out an event. And it doesn't mean I want something to be god tier broken, like Seraphon is. What I think is it has mechanics or the ability to be adaptable, and this book doesn't have it as well. It doesn't have it does no damage and is made of paper. That's the book. It's hilarious, right? It's got no strengths, and it's also got no no way it can sideways play. Like, it can't be like I'm an aggro alpha build and then they play like a defensive castle shooting build. Like, it doesn't have any design mechanics around it. Like, it's got one battalion that might be okay, but whatever you're like, when I say so, and my reference to that is when I say demonettes are good, I mean demonettes are okay in this book, is what I mean. And so anyway, also, or I could tweet 20 Slangor Fiendbloods because they are brilliant, and I just happen to own a load if anyone wants to buy them. Right, so that's 6s to hit in melee is actually a big change and a negative, really, because imagine, Nathan, if you had played Slaanesh before, but you'd played as you'd taken Warriors of Chaos, or you'd taken Chaos Knights, or a War Shrine, or anything, a Demon Prince, and you were like, "Oh, this is awesome!" Like, they're in my army, and then they release a new book, and then that book doesn't affect your army anymore. It's a really negative change, and I really hope to see that FAQ'd. So, point 1 in bad things this book has done, in my opinion, because that isn't good. Now, the Locus Diversion. So the Locus previously was, if you were within 6 inches on 3 up, you would strike last. That's what it previously was. This is, at the end of the charge phase, you choose one unit within 1 inch of a Hedonite demon hero, and on a 4+, that unit cannot pile in for the combat phase, and it's a 3+ for greater demons. Now, you and me talked on the show last week where we just kind of mentioned it. Have you had any thoughts since about like that ability?
Yeah, I mean, I still think not being able to pile in is stopping people piling in is in some cases is probably better than making them fight last.
Okay.
If they could fight last and still pile in, some armies that'd be fine. They'd be like, yeah, fine, well, we can do that. But yeah, so it is fairly situational. It's mainly against blocks of big blocks of infantry. So
no, it's against big blocks of infantry. So all of it is an if, in my opinion.
Yeah,
it's good against blocks of infantry if they charged you with a low charge roll and they wanted to, like, it's good against...
No, if you charge them, you can just charge the front of a block of infantry.
Yeah, I was going to throw in the if you charge them as well.
Yeah,
but if they just charge you, it's shit.
Yeah.
Right? And I'm not advocating for it being what it was previously in any way, because I don't think the way it was before either was particularly interesting. And also, like, so if they charge you, it's game over. Like I think pretty much. Like, and that's and that's with with your grots, for example. Fuck yeah, like I could definitely see what you're saying. It's also within an inch. So if I charge the unit next to the keeper, previously that 6-inch bubble was pretty massive and you could use it defensively. Now I just charge the unit next to the keeper and stay out of an inch, which is great. I'm probably going to stay out of 3 inches in case he somehow whiffs next to me and I don't want him to touch me. That's if the keeper is even in the army, which might not be in the army. So, because it doesn't generate depravity anymore, or other than in melee, which any unit does in melee. So it probably doesn't make it into the army as is. And it's only on the demons, which is weird, because you've got loads of characters that are in this book that are now mortals. So
I thought it was any hero. Is it only demon hero?
Let me double check. Demon hero.
Yeah.
Demon hero.
Yeah.
Right. So it's just but it's also not something you can play to as well. It's situationally useful. I'm not going to say that it's not situationally useful in any way, shape, or form. Very much.
I mean, with the way I play armies, which is with blocks of infantry, I think this is more difficult for me to cope with than the other Locus that they had before.
Yeah. So Chris Jr., love seeing him in the chat. It's really nice seeing you, little Chris. Hope you're well. No piling is better in your turn and worse in your opponent's because there's nothing stopping people from charging you and killing you before you get to do anything more. Yeah. It's I'm in a weird place on this one, as an update, because I don't think it's a good change. It's situationally a thing, whatever. It's situationally useful. I wouldn't say it's situationally. I wouldn't say it's situationally better either, because the situation that your opponent can strike last is situationally always better. I would say, but
not necessarily.
Okay.
Yeah, not necessarily. If you can't pile in, and so you end up with 3 models in your 60 grot unit being able to attack. Whereas if I'd been able to pile in, I probably could have got, maybe as many as 20 in, because which can happen quite easily with the grots, especially if you move the nets around and everything. And basically you're not fighting if you've only got 3 of them in, but 20 could put some serious hurt into something.
But that's if you've made a bad charge roll, is what you're saying.
Yeah, or if he's charged me. I've quite often I set myself up to be charged, and then I'm like, that's fine, charge me. You're going to kill some grots, but they're going to kill you back.
But if they tag you and you can't pile in, that's more of an issue.
Then I can't pile in, then I'm screwed. So, like you say, it's situational because it's only if you're playing against Nathan Prescott. Otherwise, happy days.
I just don't see it like being overly relevant. Like think about other things as well. That's again if you're talking about a horde. If you're talking about if they don't roll a good charge, there's so many like ifs for it to be good. And then it's like
it's weaker than it was before because it's just weaker than it was before. If you're comparing it to what it was before, definitely.
I'm not even.
There's a few situations where it would be better, but they are few and far between.
Yeah. Anyway, so it's just a lot of people are saying it's brilliant, and I just don't agree with that sentence at all. Statement at all that it's a brilliant.
It's still a useful thing.
It's definitely. I'm hold my hand up to that.
More, I mean, if you gave it to me as a allegiance ability from scratch, then I'd be quite happy with it. But if I was comparing it to what the Locus of Division did before, I'd probably be like, the other one is probably more useful in more situations. So
yeah, because if you're going to be over the moon charging to keep it out with Loon Boss on Mangler Squigs, right? You were like, you can't pile in. It's like, don't worry, son, I'm already next to you. And also, again, I think we have to talk about this. A negative about this, it's on Hedonite demon heroes only, and not all mortal heroes. So again, I can't summon in my cool ass. I can't give a mark of to my Karkadrak Lord, for example, with Mark of Slaanesh, which would be not that you're necessarily going to take him, but a whole allegiance ability that doesn't affect.
Karkadrak.
Huh?
Your pervy Karkadrak can't do this. Fair enough.
Right, so then Depravity has changed as well, which is, I'll just TLDR it. At the end of the battle shock phase, for any unit that has either lost a model or has taken a wound, and they haven't been destroyed, that's super important, you generate a Depravity, both friendly and enemy, allies included. There's been lots made of this, lots of conversations, and we'll talk about it. I'll make all the statements that I think have been made, and then we'll kind of talk about it a little bit. Number one, you can just do some chip damage around from the army, and you'll generate some DP. Okay, fair enough. Good points. Not forgetting that in order to generate 12 Depravity a turn, there would have to be 12 units who take damage but don't die. That's important. At the end of the battle shot phase. Or if you want to do 6 is the same. That's an important thing to point out. You can generate a lot of Depravity because of all the shooting units. Interesting conversation. And more on that later. And then, what was the other one? You could build the army to be a summoning army and use the Depravity. Another conversation, all of the points are quite high because they assume you're using Depravity. So you can summon them from a hero as before, or a cool upgrade, useful for this army because it's fairly normally forwardly aggressive, is that you can summon from the Fane, which is their terrain piece. So that's nice. That's a nice change for them. So that's kind of what do you think about this conversation about the Depravity, Nath?
I mean, I'm not a fan of summoning anyway. So yeah, it sounds like it's pretty shit way of summoning. It's you generate the points at the end of your battle shock. You summon in the end of your movement phase. There will be some summoning. I wish there wasn't any, but fuck it. Yeah, there's not going to be that great anyway. What they can summon, And if they
True.
build, I mean,
Oh, I've lost Nathan for a second there. DP is a gen both players' turns. Yeah, I have said that. Like, it's not just one player turn. So yeah, Nathan, depravity is generated in both player turns. So that's an important point to point out.
Yeah.
Obviously, thank you to Ebert for subscribing. Yeah. But yeah,
it looks like it's more difficult than it was before.
Yeah, it is, and I think unfortunately, not unfortunately or fortunately, I'm not sure. You just have to kind of think as depravity is just being there, like it's just a thing, like very much like Nurgle. That's how I feel like it plays. There isn't really a way to spec into it unless you spec quite heavily into it. If you took something like Blissbarb Archers, which are 160, so you're spending nearly 500 points for 3 units of 10 archers, and you probably will always take Blissbarbs on Seekers, which are 180, so you're spending nearly 600 points, not that, it's 540, for 3 units that are just doing some marginal chip damage. But it's a weird interaction, right? Because it's you ask yourself, am I going to do a little bit of damage here so that I can get, like, 1 depravity? Yeah, or am I going to kill this unit so that I can take the board control, I can move the units where I need them to be, you know, like, it's okay in the mid-game, right, where your units are engaged with their units, everyone's kind of dying, everyone's taking some damage, that's fine. If you have tanky units in the army, that's important as well, that you take a little bit of damage, but ultimately, like, if you're trying to play for it, you're not killing the thing that you're trying to, like, get depravity from, which is a weird place. And also, to generate that depravity, you're spending a lot of points in the Slaanesh army anyway, because, as pointed out, it was expensive. Like, if you got cheaper archer units, like if the Blissbarbs were like 100 points, then I'd be like, cool. Like, you know, 3 units of 10 of them, they're chaff, they do some shooting, you generate some points, I'd be cool with that. But when they're at the point that there are, it's a bit weird. And you ask yourself, how much are you going to summon back is the real point, and getting up to 12 depravity, it depends, there's wild speculations all around. It's super easy you can maybe get 24 points over the course of a game. Let's just for argument's say that you can get 24 points. That'll get you 2 Keepers of Secrets, or that'll get you 2 units of Demonettes, of 2 units of 30 Demonettes, which is pretty good. That's quite a good amount of stuff to get for free, but again, that's requiring you to 24 times take damage or do damage, and the units that you kill or don't. Am I making sense? Like, everything has to live to generate it, which is weird.
To me, it seems like it's a bit more in line with the corn summoning. Yeah, it's something that's there. It's useful because it happens end game. Suddenly you've got to fight an extra fucking bloodthirster or something. Or so here you'd be fighting extra keeper or some more demonettes. But it's not as game breaking that the old summon
and you're right. I don't want it to be the old thing. Like, I don't want it to be the old thing.
So
at all.
I'm happy that it's like this. Obviously, the Slaanesh guys that played it before, they're not going to be so happy because they don't have the turnaround on models that they had before. So
and there's some, and you can also summon only 1 unit when you do summon and use those points. I think Rev's made a really good point in the chat. It's death by 1,000 cuts. That's kind of, if you're thinking I'm going to use depravity, you think death by 1,000 cuts, but you cannot survive. Your army can't even take 10 cuts. So it's a weird kind of interplay. Anyway, like
well. I mean, the game
it's a bonus, right? I think lots of people would be happy that they could summon 2 units of 30 dudes. If you could summon 2 units of 30 dudes, 2 units of 30 dudes in your army for free, just for playing the game, then you'd be all about it, I think.
Yeah.
Well,
so the point is also that those units have to have survived the battle shock phase. And a lot of, like, Sigmar stuff has become a bit more like chess, where units just move into each other and take them, lift them off the board. So you don't often see damaged units. Well, you do still see damaged units, but it's becoming a lot more common that units are just wiped out as soon as they interact with another unit, get it up close enough. So
I agree. I agree with that. Yeah, I think the output is, and I think you're right, and that board control and that board presence and that ability to bully flanks and the midboard are super important. But they do have a good piece in this army to help with that when we get to Fatacross, because I think that's fairly useful. But overall, for allegiance abilities, they're kind of like, I mean, they're nice, right? A situationally nice Locus, bonus. Exploding sixes, but only really on, like, your units, which is kind of okay, but weird, right? And that Locus also not working on any of your mortal heroes is rubbish. That's like super rubbish. Like, and then the depravity points. And again, depravity points, whether or not I think that I think someone said in the chat that depravity is a trap. And I think it is. I think you just play the game like pretending that depravity isn't there, sort of thing. Like, you don't really play for it. I think if you're using your brain power to try and like max the depravity farming, I think that you're probably wasting the game. Is what you're gonna do. So yeah. Anyway, so that's the kind of overarching allegiance ability. So all nice bonuses, really, if you actually take them into account. But if I was a Slaanesh player, would I be happy about them? Euphoric Killers, no. Feast of Depravities, I guess yes, because it's summoning, and that's good. I like summoning free stuff. Like, fuck yeah.
I mean, I think all of the things are positive. They're all decent enough abilities, aren't they? It's just if you compare them to what was there before, maybe they don't match up, but they're all right.
Yeah. All right, so let's talk about the three sub-factions that you get. And this is where I think that this book really falls down in creativity for the Slaanesh players. And again, for Slaanesh players, I'm not ragging on your book or you. I'm sad for you. Like it's pretty sad, really, because very much unlike last week. So you've got Pretenders, you've got God-Seekers, and you've got Invaders. So if you're Pretenders, Nathan, your general gets 2 command traits, and units with 10 or more models reroll hit rolls of 1 for melee weapons while the general is on the board. Quite a nice buff. 2 command traits on a general. Okay, I'll take that. And you've got command ability Warlord Supreme at the end of the battle shot phase. If your general is within 3 inches of a unit, generate 1 DP or 2 DP if it's within range of 2 units. It's not command ability, that's just the command trait, I think. Is it command trait? Command ability. At the end of the battle shot phase, I didn't write on my notes, sorry. If your general's in, you get some bonus CP,
it doesn't
DP.
say it's not a, you don't spend a CP for it. It's just at the end of the battle shock phase, you receive a DP if you're within 3 of the enemy.
2 or more units.
D3 if instead of 1 if your general's within 2 or more. Yeah,
so Warlord Supreme is fine, but like the general gets 2 command traits and units with 10 or more models reroll hit rolls of 1 for melee weapons. So if you're taking bricks of demonettes, which I think is a build in here, like a ton of demonettes, I think is a build, and there's a battalion that works quite nicely for it. But like that's it for your like. You're like, okay, my general gets 2 command traits, and there are some command traits that they can take, and some of them are fine. Like +1 damage against monsters, reroll hits if no friendly units within 6 inches. That's weird. Start the combat phase, pick an enemy hero within 3 inches. Reading these was awful. I'm just going to point this out there. Reading these compared to reading the Daughters of Cain ones were a slog. Like, it was genuinely painful to read. Like you can tell that there are 2 different authors between the Daughters of Cain book and this book just by reading the command traits and artifacts. If you do happen to have bought both books, or you have access to both books, I do encourage you to go through this process, which I have to do every time there's a book come out. Just read the command traits on one page for one book, and then read about the other book, and you'll be like, these 2 are different. This is 2 different people in 2 different departments. There's a couple of cool artifacts though in here. You've got Pendant of Slaanesh, start the hero phase, heal D3 every turn. That's quite nice. And then you've got Scepter Domination, steal 1 CP on a 4-up if your hero's within 12 inches of any heroes, which is kind of fun because you've got melee characters that are going in, whatever. But like for a sub-faction, that's it. And it doesn't really, what I'm trying to say is it doesn't really force you to play your army any other way, Nath. Like it's like, it's just, if you've got 10 or more models, or you can get 2 command traits. So that's it. God-Seekers. They've got the Thundering Cavalcade ability, which is +1 to charge rolls, which is really good in this army. And then they've got Maniacal Hunters, which is the end of the charge phase. Gain D3 depravity points if your general made a charge move. +1 to the roll if any other unit's charged. So D3 +1. So +1 to charge rolls. Whoop-de-doo. Like as a sub faction. Like if you'd let's look at Ossiarch Bone Reapers and how creative that is, right? No Myriad. I ignore spells on a 2+, like as well as the other stuff that they've got in there as well. Crematoriums, I explode and do mortal wounds back. Fucking yes. Like +1 save was +1 save, whatever it was. Like maybe it was a bit too simple, but you know what it is. Staliart Lords, right? Run and charge. Like +1 to charge is like whatever. It's just boring. That's what I'm trying to say when you read, like, oh cool, +1 to charge. And then they've got some command traits and artifacts, and then you've got invaders. So this is, you have 3 generals instead of 1. Only 1 general can have a command trait. None of your generals can use a command trait or a command ability while within 12 inches of each other. Each time a general is slain, you gain a CP, and they've got an Escalating Havoc, which is at the end of your battle shot phase, 1 DP for your general if it's wholly within enemy territories, and D3 depravity points if 3 of your generals are in the enemy's territory. So, again, like...
Wow, that's a fairly complex one, isn't it? I don't know. But yeah, I mean, you can play around with that, but still.
I mean, that one's actually just a negative. 3 generals, they can't be near each other, or you can't use basic abilities. Like, so I quite like that there's a risk versus reward mechanic there, and that's it. Only 3. So a whole new range of awesome new units and models. 3 sub-factions only. Couldn't be asked to write a 4th one. And they're like I've already forgotten. Like already in my brain I'm like, well, I'm never taking invaders. That sounds shit. Like, can't use hit. Like, if I get my heroes close to each other, I'm fucked. Cool. I'll just have my hero on his own somewhere else, 12 inches away from the other one. Not into that. +1 to charge. Yeah, fine. And then 2 command traits. Like, they're pretty underwhelming, is what I'm trying to say. Like, I feel like the +1 to charge Godseekers is the right decision to take. And I think Godseekers has also got the banner, which is the one that's got the artifact, which I really like. The Lash of Despair. No. Voice box. Camo. Where is it? Sorry, Nath. Give me a second. I'll find the artifact I like. The Rod of Misrule. At the start of your command. So the Rod of Misrule is actually in Invaders, which is gaining loads of CP, which this army is very CP hungry as well. So it's the start of your command phase, roll a dice. On a 1, your opponent gets a CP. 2 to 5, you get 1. On a 6, you get D3 CP. And so, yeah. And then Breathtaker Artifacts and Pretenders don't even work. It's just copy-paste. It says Nathan Van Der. There's also, there's that as well. And there is also, I'm not forgetting Lurid Haze, thank you very much. I'm just about to get to it. So in the book, though, that's what I'm trying to say. In the book, they could have taken Lurid Haze from Wrath of the Everchosen, and then they could have put it into this book as well, which is the other sub-faction that you get, Nathan, from Wrath of the Everchosen.
Yeah.
They just didn't put it into this book because they couldn't be asked, right? And then their 4th sub-faction will be a Broken Realms book. Brilliant. I can't wait. Anyway.
So they've not included this the other sub that Lurid
Lurid Haze.
Weird. Yeah.
No.
Weird.
Right? Isn't that weird? Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I mean, yeah.
So if we go into the spells, there's actually 3 spell laws. And they're all fine, but not much. So Born of Damnation is one I like. Heal D3 to a friendly Hedonites hero in 6 inches. Honestly, the rest I could just probably move on from, Nath. They're like, I'll read them out because they're fucked. Lash of Slaanesh. Pick a point within 12 inches and draw a line. Roll a 4+ for each unit under it, and it takes a mortal wound. Okay. We should never have to read that again. That'll never appear in a list for the rest of time. Next, Slaanesh units are not affected, so you can't even use it to spike your own units to generate some depravity points. Thumbs up. Next up, Purveying of Slaanesh. 1 enemy hero within 6 inches, roll a dice. equal to their move characteristic for every 5+. So let's say you've got a move characteristic of 10. You roll 10 dice, every 5 up equals a mortal wound. It's within 6 fucking inches. So, not useful. Hysterical Frenzy. One enemy unit wholly within 18 inches of the caster. Roll a dice for each model in that unit. Each 6 equals D3 mortal wounds. That's a great spell.
Yeah, that's what they had before. That was a good spell, yeah.
Great spell. Yeah. Soul Slice Shards. Cast on a 5. Unit within 18 inches. Roll 2d6 above their bravery characteristic, and the difference equals mortal wounds. Phantasmagoria. One enemy unit within 18 inches and visible. Roll 6 dice. Every 5+ equals -1 bravery to their wound characteristic. -1 to their...
Yeah, -1 bravery to a minimum of 1 until your next hero phase.
Until your next hero phase. Sorry, that was just... So,
wow.
Again...
Wow.
No, Nathan, what do you think? I'm the one who's banging on. What do you think of that spell?
Cast on a 7.
Yeah.
An enemy unit within 18. Roll 6 dice. For each 5 up, subtract 1 from that unit's bravery to a minimum of 1 until your next hero phase.
Careful.
Wow. That's just crap. That's crap.
And then you've got Buddha Damnation, which is heal D3, which is a good spell. I like that. Paths of the Dark Prince is cast on a 7, and the user can fly, which is genuinely useful. Genuinely good. It's cast on a 7, though, so that's rough. Progeny of Damnation is a 5. Select Demon Hedonite hero within 6, and you heal D3. 10+ to cast, and you heal D6. Again, a Demon Hedonite hero. So not any other hero. So you can use that on Archeon. He is a Demonite Hedonite hero. But you can't use it on... I don't know. Let's say you brought a Chaos Lord on Manticore because you thought it was cool. Can't use it on that. Can't use it on a Karkadrak. Can't use it on a Chaos Sorcerer Lord. Like, none of those things. Just like, whatever. So anyway. But that's good. If you were running Keepers or Fatacross, it's a great spell. Because it's D3, and then as we talked about earlier on, there's a command trait for another D3, so 2D3. Like, I've got to cast it, and in the world of Magic Doms, that's an issue. But whatever. And then you've got Slothful Stupor, enemy hero within 12, cannot run, charge, or use command abilities until your next hero phase. It's quite a good spell. Cast on 7.
Yeah. Short range, but it is a decent spell. Yeah. Those 3 in that spell are alright. Yeah. So greater demons only. So is that only keepers?
Correct. That's one of the major dramas about this. And then you've got Laura Play and Potion. This is Slaanesh Mortals only. And this is Battle... so Battle Raptures are 5. Mortal Slaanesh unit wholly within 18 inches of the caster do not take Battle Shock tests until your next hero phase. 10+, and it applies to 3 units. Which is useful for this army because it's going to take a lot of damage. And great on some demonettes. So Mortal Slaanesh units. Sorry, Mortal Slaanesh units. Yes. So do not take Battle Shock test until your next hero phase. So you've got to, it's a way of doing an inspiring presence, right?
Yeah.
Which is okay, I guess. For a God of Excess, this is really inaccessible. Anyway, Judgment of Excess. Enemy unit within 12 inches suffers 1 mortal wound for each 5+. Each 5 models it has. If it has fewer than 5 models, it suffers 1 mortal wound. Why wouldn't I do an Arcane Bolt, which is 18 inches, as opposed to this, right, which is 12 inches, unless it has 5 or more models. And if it has 60 models, like if I target Nathan 60 grots, oh my god, what do? Do I do 6 mortal wounds? Like, this doesn't understand how the game works. If I have 60 guys, and for every 5 guys you do a mortal wound, I don't care. Because I've got 60 guys. You're going to kill 5. Like, whereas the one that's roll a dice for every one of those 60 guys, on a D3 it's mortal wounds. Now I care. Now I'm triggered. Like, that's pretty... 12 mortals, thank you.
I mean, it will kill 12 dudes in the 60 block, but, yeah... And then you cast the make you scared, and then more of them run away. But, yeah, sure. I don't know.
So the Dark Delusions cast on a 4, pick an enemy within 18, roll 2d6. If it beats their bravery, then -1 to hit against them until the next hero phase. Pick an enemy within 18, roll 2d6. If it beats their bravery, then -1 to hit against them until the next hero phase. So what do you... what do you think of the spell laws?
So the first one, so that's the demon wizards only. There's 2 spells in there that are decent. Hysterical Frenzy, so that's a nice horde clearing spell. And then the Born of Damnation. You got a healing spell, which is always useful.
Mm-hmm.
And that's on any hero. Okay, cool.
Mm-hmm.
The other ones, that Phasmagoria one, I don't know about that one at all.
Do you see what I mean about the book being weird?
Yeah,
it's like...
that's an odd one. The Greater Demon spell was fine. All 3 of those are decent.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And then the other one, I mean that horde clearing spell. The other one is much better. So the other 2, Judgment of Excesses, but it's all right, I guess, but it's not that great. The other one's better for that, and then the other 2 are okay. Yeah.
So one of these things I want to kind of ask as we go through the book is the book fun? Like, is it fun? Like, is it fun? Like, are any of those fun? Like, Fly is the only fun one. I was like, oh yeah, fuck yeah. The casting of flies. Cool. All right, I'm into that. That's fine. Healing up, kind of fun, I guess. I like Slothful Stupor. Slothful Stupor, I think, is fun. Enemy hero in 12 inches cannot run, charge, or use command abilities until the next hero phase. That's fun. That gives you as a player tools to do some fun stuff on the tabletop. Do you know what I mean? I stop a unit from doing something. Like I get to kind of be in control of the game and do some stuff. That's fun. Everything else doesn't feel very fun, and especially none of the sub-factions feel very fun. They don't really do much. So anyway, so let's move on to the battalions that we've got going on here. So you've got Depraved Carnival. Which is an interesting one. This is 3 Lords of Pain or Shard Speakers, Nath. These are mortal hero characters, and you have to have 3. The Battalion's 160 points, and the Lords of Pain is like 150, 160. Shard Speakers are about the same, so they're like 150, 160. And you have to have 3 units of Blissbarb Archers, which are 160, right? So you have to take 2 melee characters.
Yeah.
Sorry, 3 melee characters or a Shard Speaker, whatever, in order to buff your unit of archers. So it's 450 points of heroes. The battalion on top is 160 points. So this is 510 points before you get to the Blissbarb Archers. Okay. And then the ability is honed by the Immical. Once per turn, pick 1 unit of Blissbarb Archers, and they can shoot in the hero phase. So you're paying 510 points to make a unit of Blissbarb Archers shoot in the hero phase. Or you can buy Marathi, and she can use a command ability to do it to a unit holding within 12 inches. 24. So, Krishna Hillis, thank you. 1,090 points for a minimum size, which is garbage because you want a unit of 30 archers, of course. So that's the minimum size, Nate.
Yeah. And would 30 archers kill anything?
They've got 2 shots each. 4s with rend. No. like something. Like, it's 60 shots. Like, you hit with half. You can give them +1 to hit. So, like, you can do okay, but not really, no. And they're also then 18 inches away, and you're going to beat the fuck out of them. And it's 33 archers. Thank you, Zirek, of course. But you will kill something, yes, of course. Of course, with 2 of them, but you have to be in the hero phase already within 18 inches.
Yeah.
So, and I mean, that's a lot of shots. It's 122 shots. So yeah. Anyway, then you've got the Nobles of Excess, which is 140 points. But that would, in order to do that, thank you, Krishna Hallis, it's 1,410 points for your 3 battle line units of Blissbarb Archers and those 3 characters that you've taken.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. so expensive. Is what I'm gonna say.
It's your army. It's a lot of your army. So hopefully the rest of those dudes in there can do other stuff as well.
Well, we'll look at the battalions in a minute. The War Scrolls. So Noble of Excess is 140 points. It's 3 to 6 units of Mimradesh Painbringers and Simbramesh Twin Souls in any combo. And then their ability is the Demonstration of Prowess. Reroll wound rolls for attacks made by melee weapons for these units if they made a charge that turn. It's not too bad. Like, reroll wounds is pretty nice. You got to have charged, but that's fine. I know you haven't necessarily seen what the Painbringers or Twin Souls do. Unfortunately, they're very expensive, and like I wouldn't say overwhelming in their output either. Consider them Chaos Warriors. So
how many points is that battalion?
140.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, for that, being able to reroll wound rolls, that's quite good cost. It just depends on if the units can.
If they're worthwhile.
Yeah, if they can do anything with those wound rolls. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So then you've got the Exalted Speed Knights, which is a great name for a battalion. Can I just say, like who are those guys? They're the Exalted Speed Knights. Like, what the fuck? They've been doing blow all night, and they're fucking going. So they are 2 to 3 units of Blissbarb Seekers, 2 to 3 units of Slickblade Seekers. So that's the archer and the like melee kind of new guys.
Ones. Yeah.
And then 2 to 3 units of Seekers. This is timing is everything. After setup, before the first battle round, D6 units can move up to 6 inches. This is, and it's only 120 points for this. And it would be super cool to run. But Blissbarb Seekers.
Because you got Speed Knights.
Yeah, because you got Speed Knights. But other than that, I think that we can move on. Golgotha, thank you for resubscribing. And then you got Supreme Cyberites, the battalion of the old edition. And this is 3 to 6 Slaanesh heroes, and they've got Ruling Cabal. Roll a dice at the start of your hero phase, and if it's equal to or less than the number of heroes from this battalion, you gain a CP. So if you wanted to go full hero hammer, you could get a CP for it, and it's 150 points.
Oh, you should. That's not bad. I guess if you got the points spare, that's not bad. You're getting at least 1 extra CP, possibly a few more through the game. So yeah.
But then, most importantly, you can put all of your heroes, unless of course you're pretenders. Thank you, Colonel Cabbage, where you can only have 1 hero. The old ones are still great battalion. Kristen Hullis likes this. I mean, this is fine if you want to put those heroes in there. But the reason this was taken so much before is because it was your heroes that generated depravity.
Yeah.
And now your heroes don't generate depravity, so you're just taking them to make your drops lower because you want lots of heroes, I guess.
Well, heroes are supposed to be useful dudes, aren't they? So
normally, yeah, I would agree.
Hopefully you take in some heroes because they're quite good at doing what they do. Because they're heroic, maybe.
Nathan DeVleague says, I own Beasts of Chaos, Sylvaneth, and Slaanesh. Should I quit the hobby at this point? No, you should invite some friends around because you 3 are going to have a great time. Like, your combats are going to take 8 weeks to get through and you're going to have the best time ever. You 100% do not quit. Right, the Epicurean Revelers. I like this battalion. 180 points. 2 to 6 units of Demonettes. I like Demonettes. 0 to 4 Hellflayers or Exalted Chariots or Fiends, which I quite like, because you could stick those of fat across. More on that later. Abilities, Perfect Destroyers, 6s to wound, cause mortal wounds, and it ends. So it's not in addition. So, obviously, if you tie into, in my opinion, lots of the key mechanics that you want from your battle traits here. You've got 30 Demonettes. Cool. They'll do damage, and they'll survive, we hope, so that they'll generate a depravity point. They'll do excessive. They'll generate every 6 to hit. Will if they're still in their big block, they're gonna generate every 6 hits is gonna generate 3 hits. So I'm vibing on that as well. And then any 6s to wound are gonna cause a mortal wound. So, I'm okay with that. I like this. Yeah.
How many points was it again? Sorry.
180 points.
It's a tad expensive for that, but yeah, it's a decent enough ability.
And you can put your Demonettes in it. It doesn't buff your Fiends. The reason I say that taking Fiends is because if I was to play this, I'd probably play Fatacross and Fiends, and then there's that innate -2. to hit in with them, which I quite like. And then my Demonettes would kind of be my front wall, is what I'd aim for. But anyway, I like that. But I really am polishing a turd in this Battletome, so like this is fine. Like I like it. It's the best of what I've seen so far. Now the next one is Seeker Cavalcade. Lot of love for this. 140 points. It's 2 units of Seekers, Blissbarb Seekers, Blissbarb Archers, or Slick Blade Seekers, which is probably the one you want, which are the new combat versions, or 0 to 4 units of Chariots. And their ability is Drawn to Battle, and it's the good 6-inch pile-in. So that is, if I'm within 6 inches at the start of the combat phase, or in the combat phase, I can pile in 6 inches. So I can pile in an additional 3 inches, so 6 in total, which is obviously super useful. So that's like 140 points, and feels like maybe the go-to for the army at this point, because the Slick Blade Seekers really are pretty much the only output in the army, if there's any output at all. So yeah, like, I mean, having really fast cavalry units that can then pile in an additional 6 inches, and don't forget they can fight twice if you use the command ability from the Keeper of Secrets. It's quite good, yeah.
Yeah, piling in 6 twice is great.
Yeah. Yeah. But piling in 6 twice is really good, right? So I think you'll see Seeker Cavalcade be a thing that people take a lot, trying to make the book work. And what's nice is it's actually something that works for the new stuff. Like, it's the new stuff is in here.
Yeah. It's not a bad price for a battalion, really, compared to battalion prices. And again, the ability is okay, just relying on the units inside being able to perform using those abilities.
Yeah, of course. Desert Sketch puts in the chat, but if you fight another Slaanesh and he is within 1 inch, don't forget only a demon, Desert Sketch, not the other units, they're not safe. And they're within 1 inch and they roll his Locus, you can't pile in. Well, actually, because they do the Locus at the start of the combat phase, then you can just pile in beyond this. You can pile in after the start of the combat phase, and therefore they can't.
Yeah, they just stay, 6 inches, 5.5 inches away from him, and then pile into him.
If you want, you could just stay fucking 1.5 inches away from him.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Do whatever you want.
Right, okay. So that's the battalions. Did any of those take your fancy, Nath?
Oh, like I say, all the abilities are great. The prices weren't terrible on those battalions either. So, yeah, as long as the War Scrolls are okay for the deeds inside them, the abilities are fine, yeah. Being able to reroll wounds, pile in 6 inches, getting extra command points, shooting in the hero phase, being called a speed knight. I don't know what they do, but yes. What do they were moving 6 inches. Yeah, sure. I'm sure they don't need that, but yeah. To be honest, yeah, if I could port any of those across to my Gits army and just say, my squigs can move 6 inches, or unmodified wound rolls. That happens anyway. But yeah, if I could port one of those into the Gits, then I'd be quite happy, I think.
Okay, all right, that's nice. That's good. Okay, well, let's talk about the army then, shall we? Look at the actual War Scrolls. So let's bring these up. So Keeper of Secrets is probably one of... there's probably 2 War Scrolls that are super important to look at. And Keeper of Secrets and Fat Cross are both. Mainly because of... Not even because of their profiles necessarily, but because of what they can do. And mainly it's that command ability that we're looking for. Don't forget that you are looking for a Greater Demon, which obviously... you're looking for a demon to be able to use a Locus, and you're looking for a Greater Demon to use that spell lore that we unlocked before. So your first port of call is to go, obviously, to a Keeper of Secrets. And you can give them an artifact in the command trait as well, obviously, if you're not one of the sub-factions.
Yeah, and they've got nice spell lore. These keepers.
That's what I said. They've got the nice spell lore. Right. So their command ability has been changed. So they've got the excess of violence, which is you can use this command ability in the combat phase when it's your turn to pick a unit to fight with. If you do so, pick one other friendly Hedonite unit that has already fought once in that phase and is wholly within 12 inches of a model. With this command ability, that unit can be picked to fight again if it's within 3 inches of enemy units. So you can pile in and attack again, but the Keeper of Secrets can no longer do it to itself.
Okay.
Right? Which is pretty rough. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, the army did used to be about heroes. Basically, it was hero hammer. They were just buffing themselves and going crazy, trying to stop other people fighting and fighting as many times as they could themselves. But that doesn't look like it's happening anymore.
Nope. And I mean, obviously, the obvious answer is just get 2.
Yeah.
All right. And Colonel Cabbage points out, and crucially, your opponents, you still have to be within 3 inches. That's really, really important. That's not a specification that you have on some of the other fight twice command abilities. And as much as we talk about the situational positivity of Locus, that is a situational negative. That's going to hurt as many times as the Locus is going to be a positive. That's going to be a negative for this army, because maybe they'll go. I mean, they probably won't go in and wipe anything out, to be fair. So, I mean, maybe that's unfair. Maybe some feeds will go crazy with some 6s, but anyway.
And does Archeon have the Hedonite?
Yes. You could definitely bunny them up together, 100%.
Cool.
Yeah, of course. And wholly within 12 is,
decent
tough
enough. Yeah.
And also knowing this Desert Sketch, you can remove casualties. So let's just kind of look at the Keeper of Secrets as a holistic war scroll. 14 wounds with a 4-up save, so it's like Bloodthirster territory, so it will survive as long as a Bloodthirster does. It moves 14 inches, so it's faster. In melee, though, it's got that those Impaling Claws, which is 2 attacks, hits on 3s, wound on 3s, rend 2, and it's still that flat 5 damage.
Nice.
So, yeah, it's nice output, definitely. But it's not being able to fight twice unless someone else makes it fight twice. Maybe is a bit of an issue. And obviously 6s to hit will explode on this as well, but it's 2 attacks, so you're not rolling loads. And they've also got the Great Blade, which is 4 attacks, 3s and 3s, rend 1, which is 2 damage. So you could do like 18 damage out of this, which is... on with another Great Blade. Yeah. You could. And if you fought twice, that's a lot of damage you can do.
Yeah. And I mean, you did often see multiple keepers in armies, so there's no reason why they can't be shouting at each other to fight again.
I agree. I think there is a reason maybe we won't see it, but they're not very survivable is the point, right? 14 wounds with a 4-up save. They're fast, obviously, because they're 14 inches. And when they get there, they can do some damage, but they don't fly, right? No. And also the output is because I think a Maw Crusher's output's better than this, right?
Yeah, but I mean, a Maw Crusher's a fighty creature. This is just a Keeper of Secrets. It's keeping some secrets.
That's a good point, Dave. That's a good point. I hadn't thought about that before. Why am I expecting it to fight when it's really just keeping secrets? Because it doesn't tell any secrets. So yeah, good point.
No.
It does have a 6-up DPR if it's got a Shining Aegeus. It's got the ability to heal with a Sinistrous Hand. It's got the Living Whip, which is a whatever. And it's got the Challenge as well, and the Delicate Precision. Unmodified wound roll for an attack made with this missile weapon or melee weapon most models of 6. It inflicts a number of mortal wounds equal to the damage characters of that weapon. So you can do those mortal wounds those 5 damage as 5 mortal wounds, Nathan, if you roll a 6. It also can cast 2 spells and unbind 2 spells, and it's got a spell called Cacophonic Choir, which is casting value of 6, and you roll 2d6. Each enemy unit within 6 inches of the caster that has a bravery characteristic of less than the roll suffers D3 mortal wounds. So you fling it in, you let it survive a turn, and then you bang out Cacophonic Choir, maybe. I don't really see that being overly useful, but that will generate you a lot of depravity, maybe.
Yeah. Maybe not. Yeah.
So what would you... how many do you know how many points this is yet? Or how many points would you think this comes in at?
I don't know how many points this is. How many points do I think it will be?
That's the big question.
300 and 320, I'll guess.
Well, so it's 340.
Okay.
So if you were to take 2, which I think is your initial problem straight away, that's 640 points. If you take 4...
Yeah.
Yeah, like I feel that's expensive.
Yeah, I guess 320. It should probably be lower than that, really. But yeah, I was comparing it to my standard when it comes to these things, an Arachnarok with web spinner on the back.
Yeah. I don't. I
Which I think it's better than that slightly, but
like look. At the end of the day, it is a combat creature like that can do some good damage when it gets into. Thank you, 680. Appreciate you guys helping me with the math there because I did not do good math. But like it gets worse. This is an important point to note. Its profile gets worse. So those impaling claws are only while it's not suffered 3 wounds, and if it's half alive. It's now only doing 3 elegant great blade attacks for 6 damage, and it's doing 2 attacks for 3 damage. 12 damage is good. I'm not saying that it's not, but that degrading profile is a massive negative, and it also slows pretty aggressively. There's a lot of shooting.
They do have access to healing spells, but it's getting those off, I guess. And those were in which law were the healing spells again?
In their spell law.
In their spell law, yeah. So I think if you're going to take a keeper, then you probably want to take 2 because you want one at least to have the fly spell and the other one to be able to heal up and buffing each other, giving each other extra rounds of fighting. So yeah.
Yeah, I personally think that they just fall apart and they just die. Like myself, and even if you you could give them if you can get the spell off and they can fly. Man, there's a lot of ifs. Anyway, so 340 points, but you almost have to pay 340 points, right? Because you obviously want to pile in an attack again.
Yeah.
And if you want to make the Keeper of Secret double as good, you're taking 2 Keeper of Secrets, so that's your 680 points in your list before you've written anything else, if that's what you wanted to do.
Yeah, unless you got them in there to make something else pile in. If you've got fair enough.
In which case you're paying 340 points to make a unit twice as effective, which is probably fair, points, ultimately.
Yeah, because he's not bad on his own either. It's not a decent enough war scroll.
It's true.
Yeah, he could kill maybe 10 dudes. No, he should be able to kill 10 dudes. Yeah, he's a decent dude. Or they're a decent person. They are.
Yeah,
they are a decent demon.
They are. And if you did have 2, and if you did manage to orientate it so that you got the charge off, you could have 2 Keepers of Secrets going twice. So 4 Keepers of Secrets doing all that damage for 680 points and 2 CP. So I hear you. Have to be wholly within 12 inches of each other. Stuff can't have died. But I'm not vibing it. Nathan, listen, Shalaxi is so shit. We're just going to move on. It's just heartbreaking. She has. So let me tell you about her. You know Shalaxi model with the spear. Are you reading it now, or have you?
Yeah, just having a quick flick look at it. It's got no command ability.
No command ability. Look how many attacks the spear has got.
Soul Piercer, 1 attack. Oh. 2s and 2s, Ren 3d6 damage. Oh. Why has it got no command ability?
Why has it got 1 attack? I get that it's got 1 spear, but Amortek Guard's got 1 sword. It still does 2 fucking attacks. Oh my god, doesn't matter. It's fine.
I don't know. Weird. Yeah.
Anyway. Honestly, when I read that, because that's probably my favourite model from the range. I think Shalaxi looks 11 out of 10. Like, absolutely amazing. In before it's an 11 attacks. If it was 11 attacks, we could talk. But it's also not even flat damage, right? It's D6 damage. So, anyway. How much do you think Shalaxi is?
To be honest, I think... she's worse than a normal one, isn't she? She's got to be the same cost or less.
She's 310.
No, she's actually less. Wow. So what is the words? Known as the Monarch of the Hunt, Shalaxi Hellbane is Slaanesh's weapon against the demons of the other Chaos Gods.
Mm-hmm.
But not quite as good as a normal Keeper of Secrets. Okay.
Isn't there?
Fair enough.
Able to discern the secrets of the Dark Prince's foes through blended senses, this statuesque warrior has slain 1,000 rivals or more. This is what we're missing, is we're looking at this as an army that does damage or fights or tries to play an objective-based Warhammer game. Really, it's an army of secret keepers.
Yeah, they just keep it in secrets.
We're missing what they're good. Like,
yeah, what are you doing here? Secret, I can't tell you.
All right, so Gluttus or Scullion, I'm a fan of, right? I think he's cool. 18 wounds, 3 up save, and move 8 before he gets bracketed, Nath, and ends up on move 4 eventually on 13+. But move 8 is like what? And then over the turns, he gets buffs from his different abilities. Battle round 1, add one to the bravery, characteristic, friendly, whatever. Friendly mortal Hedonite units within 6 inches. Again, for some reason, keyword locked to mortal Hedonites and not just Hedonites. And that's fine, but it's just cool. This model can run round 2, run and still charge, which is useful. Round 3, do not take battle shot tests for friendly mortal units, mortal Hedonite units while wholly within 12 inches of this unit, which is genuinely useful. I mean, round 3 would be pretty shocking if all your mortal Hedonites were alive on round 3. And then battle round 4, you could play Star Strike though and not engage each other on turn 1. So that's play Star Strike a lot with this army.
Just hide at the back of the board until turn 3. Just say, well, the guys, what are you doing? You got your age-old answer. It's a secret.
Everyone in the chat is going wild about Shalaxi, by the way, Dave. Ultrich is like, how can he defend Slaanesh from other Chaos Gods? It would take at least 3 turns to kill another big demon. Rob Kelly's like, the named one being cheaper and rubbish is hilarious. What are you well known for? Dunno. And then Viking DX is like, I'm known for being worse. Yes, 80 Mac in the chat. What up? Big love to 80 Mac. Super sad news today, actually, about the closer of the Davy Centre, Nate.
Oh, what? It's closed.
It's closed. We are looking to buy it, though. I don't know if we can afford the 45 quid and packet of jam sandwiches it will cost to buy it. But hopefully the Sheffield Slaughter will continue. It just will be someone else, which is sad. But big hopes for the Dragon Slayers and Sheffield Slaughter in the future. And I bring that up because AD is the organizer and the bait in the chat. Right, anyway. About round 4, at the end of your hero phase, you can replace the spells this model knows from the Law of Pain and Pleasure table with a new spell. In addition, this model can attempt to cast 1 extra spell in the hero phase. So it's just whatever. And then
that was the
shit one.
The shit one. The one only had 3 spells anyway. Yeah.
You can reroll, and then battle round 5, you can reroll casting, dispelling, and unbinding rolls. Now, the important part about this is Fog of Temptation. Subtract 1 from hit rolls for attacks made by enemy units within 12 inches of this model. Minus 1 to hit to anyone within 12 inches of this model is actually, I mean, for this book, it's pretty good. So I've been writing some lists with Nervous Shalaxi, Gluttos. So I've been doing some lists with Gluttos, right? And if you talk to anyone, they're like, what about Glottos? Glottos. It's like -1 to hit in a bubble. And I'm like, that's pretty good. Like, don't get me wrong, it's good. Super good. Like, but it's like a Geminids, it's a Zinch, Rhaenyra Hero, it's a fucking Net Grotter, like, Grotnetter, like, it's a billion other spells. Like, it's good. When you read the book, you think, fucking hell, that really stands out. But it's like, I don't know, man. Like, yeah, whatever. It's good. It's good. Let's put it as good. And they can add one to the casting, dispelling, and unbinding rolls for this model, which is good. +1 to cast, dispel, and unbind. Then he's got some companion abilities, which are reroll charge rolls for this model, which is good.
Nice.
And then they've got this Priestess Delechi. In your hero phase, you can see that Delechi will cast the Call to Slaanesh to protect a master on a 2+. You get a 5+ DPR on this model.
Nice.
So 18 wounds with a 5+ DPR at -1 to hit with a 3+ armor save. That's -1 to hit. Obviously, that 5+ DPR only in effect if they've had a hero phase.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, and of course, thank you, Grinaldi. Look out, sir. We forgot to mention that he is not a monster. He doesn't have the monster keyword, so you can get look out, sir. So -2 if you're within 12 inches or -1 at range.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, where'd he go? There he is. Cool. And he can do 2 spells, 2 unbinds, and he's got crippling famishment. So that's a spell, yeah. Cast on a 7, pick an enemy unit within 18, and visible until your next hero phase, halve their move, run, and charge rolls. Yeah. Cast on 7. It's a decent enough spell, I guess. Wholly within. No, just within 18. Okay. It's not a crazy good spell, but it's a decent enough spell.
It's a pretty good spell, right? An enemy within 18 inches, and you can halve their move characteristics. That unit halve and rolls. It's okay, and he's +1 to cast is really good as well. I would feel like he's the guy that you put the horde clearing spell on because, like, he plays a lot like Catacross, right? Like, he's a central buff piece who you run into the middle of the board as soon as possible.
Yeah.
And he's got this command ability, which is Gorge on Excess, which is basically, Nath, every wound, if you have 10 wounds in a unit and you do 22 wounds, you heal 12 wounds. Does that make sense? Every wound you do over after, so that's useful. And it can be done on pick one friendly Hedonite unit wholly within 12 inches. So obviously he can do it to himself. He could do it to Archeon. He could do it to anyone, right?
Yeah. I think there's a decent amount of healing in here, especially for the demons. So, yeah. That obviously works again.
Oh, thank you, Colonel Cabbage. No, he can't take the horde clearance spell. Sorry. He can't take the horde clearance spell. He's not able to.
No, he can only take the one that does it on for every 5 models or something. That one. Yeah.
Now, number 1, Christian had this. Good point. Yeah, this is 100% probably the most fun and interactive model in the army. And arguably, maybe other than the Keeper, the most tactically useful. In that it's a character that's very tough to get rid of and has got some big, strong healing, which is useful. And his command ability can double up with Archeon, can double up with Sigvald, could double up with a Keeper of Secrets as well. So, when I initially talked about this book last week, I was like, there's a lot of healing in this book. If you spec into the healing, heal D3, do a spell for D3, do another spell for D3 or D6, use the command ability. So there is a way to, generate all that healing. But you ask a Sylvaneth player how much regrowth and a Lariel spell for healing does for their army. There's a certain point where you think, okay, that means I'm taking a lot of damage. But, we'll see. We'll see. I think Glottos is probably going to be the most taken model out of the new stuff, definitely. But yeah. And a lot of people say in the chat, Encore GM says, I just dropped $900 on new models. I'm super excited to assemble and paint them. Paint and meta for the win, and I'm loving this coverage. This is what I need to know about the army so I can play it and find ways to enjoy it. Thanks, Encore GM. It's my pleasure. Our pleasure. I'm glad that this is useful instead of just saying everything's great.
How many points is this fella?
Go on then. Tell me. What do you think? You tell me.
18 wounds with a 3-up save. So he's quite chunky. He's got some nice abilities. 400.
The keeper was 340.
Yeah, this guy's got to be 400 points.
You bang on. You nailed it. Spot on. Yeah. We didn't talk about his output as well, and that's a good point. Crushing Claws, 6 attacks, 3 threes, Ren 1, 3 damage. He's got his Wailing Great Brave, which is the guy on top, which is 3 attacks, 3 threes, Ren 2, 2 damage. So you can do some pretty good output. And if you put a keeper with Glottos, you could get the keeper to make Glottos fight twice.
Yeah. Nice.
Like, it's quite nice, right?
Yeah. 6 attacks, doing 3 damage, yeah. That's
cool. That goes down as he gets wounded. But he should be able to be healed. So I feel like maybe you would buddy him and a keeper up together. That's a lot of points. That are 2 models for scoring objectives. 740 points. Like, it's a lot. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. It is. Yeah. And they'll need screens and stuff. But yeah. Cool.
All right, so So Sigvald, we've talked about him before. So he's 6 wounds, 3-up save. He's got a 4-up DPR, which is important. So he's got fight first, so always strikes first. If he made a charge move in the same turn, he isn't a demon hero. He doesn't have the demon keyword, so he can't use the Locus. Doesn't have access to, it's pretty rough. And only gets fight twice. Only gets fight first at the beginning of the movement phase. If he charged. And only moves 6 inches. Doesn't have reroll charges, or obviously you can go Godseekers and get +1 to charge. And then you add 3 to... you add 3 to his charge rolls, sorry. He doesn't get reroll charges. So he's got 3 to his charge rolls, which means... which is pretty good. And in addition, the attack characteristic of his sword is 5 unless he rolls super high. But it's unmodified, and that +3 is obviously modified.
Yeah. So he's a decent enough little choppy character, isn't he?
Yeah. And he also negates you can't take DPR
survivable.
saves. You can't take DPR saves against his sword. Which is Ren 2 D3 damage, and he's 2s and 3s. So he's quite survivable, he's quite good, but he plays the same role as the Light of Altharion, which doesn't really see play at all. I think he's a good piece, but and I think he can do some good damage, but he's slow in an army that wants to be fast. Like the Keeper of Secrets wants that 14 inches. We talked earlier on about giving them fly.
Yeah.
So they want to be fast and engaging in the enemy, but this guy's slow and is moving slow. So I feel like maybe he keeps up with Fatacross and you kind of put them together. That's a cool little combo. But that wound sink, I know it's 6 wounds with a 4-up DPR, so it's he's got 3-up armor save and the 4-up DPR. But I feel like you can stick enough stuff. You can just throw enough shit at him that it'll just fall down, right? You don't even have to throw anything overly good at him.
True. I mean, a 3-up save. It's got to be something significant going into him to kill him.
Right.
And obviously there's access to healing in the book, which is good. So he's decent enough, but it's at this point if you're taking Glutos and a keeper, then you're probably needing to spend some points on getting bodies on the board. So that's your little quandary.
It is. And so obviously we talked about Lurid Haze earlier. So the ability to put him into Deep Strike and then also put him on the board and get him +1 save is possible. Yeah.
Oh,
so if you're taking the other stuff, it's okay. It's okay, but it's a pure Alpha Strike. And he doesn't fly. Again, Like, and that's okay. But can he survive salamanders? No, he cannot. Not 40 skinks. He can't survive 2 sharks. I'm pretty certain he can't survive 2 sharks. If I crunch the numbers, and they're 220. And obviously we're talking about probably the best stuff, but like, I mean, he's not going to survive. I mean, fuck, he's movement 6, Nate. Like, some fucking Iron Drakes are going to smash him from across the board, right? Like, and they're not even like, well, I'm not going to say anything bad about them.
You better not. Yeah, fucking
so how many
torpedo
points do you think he is?
Well, this one we said, didn't we? He's 200 and odd points. I think he's 200. Did we say 60 or something like that?
260. Yeah.
So yeah, I think he is probably overcosted. But then, like you say, everybody, all of those sort of models of that ilk are all slightly overcosted anyway. So yeah.
And I think the concept of spending 100 points to teleport him across the board via bridge in this magic economy. I love all wizards like looking at their commanders. They're like, cast a spell. They're like, what, in this economy? If you try casting a spell, it's a nightmare. Like...
Well, I mean, that's something that Glutos could do, really. Because
with
the
his
spell,
+1 to cast.
Yeah, that spell law that he's got access to is a bit meh.
Yeah, it's true.
And
right.
Crippling famishment probably won't work first turn, so yeah, maybe he should be casting a bridge or something first turn.
It's an idea.
If you got points for it.
Yeah. So then you've got Lord of Pain, who is an on-foot character. He's got 5 wounds with a 4-up save, and he moves 6 inches, Nath. He's got 5 attacks, which are quite good. 3 3s, rend 1, 2 damage. His ability is roll a dice each time. He's got a 5-up DPR, basically.
Yeah.
And if a wound or mortal wound is negated by this ability, in the combat phase, the attacking unit suffers a mortal wound. So he's got a 4-up, 5-up DPR, right? Like, so not too far off Sigmund, actually. His command ability is, use his command ability in the combat phase, and if you do so, you pick a friendly Hedonite mortal unit wholly within 12 inches of this model. You can re-roll hit rolls for attacks made by the unit. Now, that's a great command ability. Like, re-roll hit rolls for units wholly within 12. Because I would like to ask you about this, because you normally play that big horde of grots, right, with the Loon Boss. And Loon Boss uses, and Loon Boss is wholly within 12 as well, or is it 18?
Yeah, wholly within 12. Unless he's the general, then it's 24.
So can I ask you a question? So, like, how do you, when you're playing, get the charge off with the grots and keep the Loon Boss next to them? Or is it that you take the charge on the grots and then use the command ability?
Obviously, yeah. If anybody charges a big block of grots and there's Loon Boss sat in the middle of them, then it's happy days as far as I'm concerned, unless they're going to kill all the grots before I get a chance to do anything. So, yeah, obviously, if you're receiving charges, then that's not a problem. It does become more of an issue when you're lining up charges. And once you've made the charge, because it's at the start of the combat phase, is this the same?
Yeah.
In the combat phase, yeah.
In the combat phase.
So once you've made the charge, because not only have you moved up and then charged, that's when you've got to be aware of that 12-inch bubble. Do
you find that hard to manage? Is my question.
Yeah, I think it's not like hard, but it is something that you've got to be aware. You've got to be on it. So quite often the Loon Boss will run up in front of the grot so that they can charge around them into whatever you're charging. Or if you're going to want them to charge the same unit, then the Loon Boss has to charge first. Otherwise the grots block him out. And then in that case, you've got to hope that them grots make the charge. Otherwise he's on his own. So, yeah, it's fun. It's a fun part of the game, managing that little 12-inch bubble.
So, and how much is a Loon Boss?
He's 70 points.
How much is the Lord of Pain, do you think?
So he's only got the command ability, his own ability. His 5-up DPR is nice. So he's obviously more survivable than a Loon Boss. His command ability is as good. He's more choppy. So he's going to be 100 points. 100 points, we'll say. 100, maybe 110.
150.
Oof.
Yeah, pricey is what he is. And the other point about his command ability is that it only affects Hedonite mortal units as well. So those rerolls to hit on Hedonite mortals, which I feel like is like, okay, fair enough, but and he's a mortal character at the end of the day, so I feel that that's very, very expensive for what he does. That's why we do this new game where we read it out and we let Nathan guess, because then instead of me just saying it is this. So the Shard Speaker of Slaanesh, genuinely a useful piece in the army as well. Now it's 5 wounds with a 5-up save, and it's got an ability which is if you cast a spell with it, you get to add 2 to its save roll, so it ends up on a 3-up save, and then it gets a special attack as well in melee. And then it's got Twisted Mirror. Once per turn, your shooting phase, you can pick an enemy within 9 inches of this model, and on 3-up, add 1 to wound rolls for attacks that target that unit in the following combat phase. The same unit cannot be affected by this ability more than once. So if you run this, she's movement 6, by the way, 5 wounds with a 5-up save. So if you run her forward, so that's 12 inches, and you pick a unit within 9 inches, so 21-inch range, and on a 3+, add 1 to wound rolls. So you've got to get within 9 to make it so that you can have +1 to wound rolls in the combat phase, which is a good buff, but you have to be very close, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And then you've got a magic. It's a wizard as well, so it can cast 1 spell, which is Reflection Eternal. Cast on 6, you successfully pick an enemy within 12 inches of the caster, subtract 1 from wound rolls for attacks made by that unit in the following combat phase. So you can give +1 to wound and take -1 to wound off, but again, that's within 12 inches.
Yeah, short
range. Which you have to cast in the magic phase.
Yeah.
I don't think the guy that wrote this really understood when things happen. He's like, yeah, I'll be close enough on the 9. Of like, that happens before you move, you idiot. I mean, if this changes, so in Age of Sigmar next game, you do the hero phase after you do the movement phase. We're all about the Shard Speaker at that point. Yeah. But what do you think? I mean, 2 good buffs. The reason I say the Shard Speaker of Slaanesh is useful, Nath, is because it's actually some of the only sources of buff in the book. Don't forget, we've read through everything else. +1 charge, no spells for rerolls, no prayers for rerolls, no prayers for reroll battle shocks or damage prevention rolls or pluses to hit or nothing of that. None of that's there. So the reason the Shard Speaker is even a consideration is because it's one of the only ways to create a buff in the army. So yeah, what do you think points wise?
I don't know. It's very similar to like a madcap shaman type thing. So I don't know. It's 80, 90 points, something like that. 90 points, we'll say.
It is. Oh, where is it?
Because it's only one spell, yeah? One
spell.
Yeah, it's 90 points.
150, baby.
Again, wow.
Agreed. Bonkers. So Pete says it seems like they really want you to play some sort of debuffing castle type army, but they aren't anywhere near survivable enough. I would agree. It's weird, right? Like, we talk about this all the time on the show, and as players, like, we always get our book and we're like, what does this book want me to do? And that's one of the really weird things about this Slaanesh book is it doesn't know what it wants you to do. I know that sounds like it's stupid and weird, but sometimes when you look at a book and you think, what did the designers want me to do, and how did they want me to play? And the Seraphon one really makes sense. Like Thunder Lizards, they want me to play with big monsters, so I'll play with big monsters. It's telling you what to do, and that's nice. Yeah. This is telling you nothing. The book tells you nothing and doesn't know what it wants to do, and it doesn't know how the game works. I wouldn't be surprised if, it doesn't matter. So then you got the Vice Leader, which is a character which is a wizard and is not important. So I'm just literally going to move on, Nate. Now, the Mask is good. He's got 5 wounds with a 10-inch move, Bravery 10, and a 5-up save, so not very survivable. However, 6 attacks in melee, 3s, 4s, rend 1, undamage 1, so pretty fighty. It's got Staff of Mask. At the start of your hero phase, you can either add D3 to the attacks characters to this model's melee weapons, or until your next hero phase, heal up to D3 wounds allocated to this model. It's kind of nice. It's only got a 5-up save, though, but we'll take it.
Yeah.
And then you've got the Endless Dances model is eligible to fight in the combat phase if it's within 6 inches, and it's got the additional 6-inch pilot. Well, the plus 3 inches, so it's got a 6-inch pilot. And in addition, you can reroll hit rolls for attacks made by this model if that target has a move characteristic of 10 inches or less, and you can reroll the wounds if it's got a move of 5 or less. So reroll to hit and reroll to wound. And it's got run and charge, which is 6, so it's movement 10 plus run and charge, and it's also got a 4-up DPR. It's amazing.
Yeah. Nice, but it doesn't do any buffs or anything then. It's not a wizard or anything, no. It's just... It doesn't buff anything. It's just a hero that runs around stabbing things.
Yeah, and fairly effectively if it moves slow. Like if it's a slow unit, you'll get 6 whole attacks, 3s and 4s that you're re-rolling, rend 1, damage 1. So you could do 6 damage, which is nice, and it's also a Locus. It's also a demon character, so you could use it for the Locus. And you can also heal, but like, it doesn't like, if you wanted like an assassin, this isn't it, right? Like if that was damage D3, I'd be like, okay, let's go.
It doesn't
go.
I don't see any reason why you'd take it unless you like the model, to be honest.
Well, if you did want to take it, how many points would you pay for it, Nate? How many points would you pay is a different conversation. You can put this war scroll into the Gitz army. Don't forget, go on.
So that's what I'm comparing it against. I mean, fucking hell, 5 point guard pounders are probably better than this thing. So 80 points.
Okay, 130 points.
Well, yeah, I mean, fuck. You just don't. Yeah. I don't know why you would take it.
Agreed.
Surely,
great model, though.
Is it?
Yeah, it's a bit of a shame. Do you know what I feel like? If anyone plays 40k at all, and Nathan, I know you don't, so it would have lost on your tad. But there's a character in the 40k Harlequins book called the Solitaire, yeah, who's this incredible like assassin piece. Which I feel like the mask should be the Solitaire, which is like, it's got this blitz move where it can move 4d6 inches on top of its base movement. And when it does do the blitz move, which is a once per game ability, yeah, it's got the ability to get 10 attacks on its weapon profile as well. And it does D3 damage. So it's this like weird, tiny 25mm sniper monster, which is hilarious. And then it's got like a really good invulnerable save, and also it's got a flip belt, so it can like pseudo fly, so it can like flip over units and flip over terrain, which is just really great. It's this awesome little like cruise missile piece, which is what I would love to see the mask. I feel like they tried to make the mask that's super fun, but when it gets there, it'll do nothing, and it doesn't even go that far anyway.
No, and it gets its buffs against little units. It's not like an assassin.
But it would be cool to see, like, the assassin
I can
roll.
go and stab some sneaky snufflers, maybe, or something like that. I mean... Why?
My point was,
leave the sneaky snufflers alone, you fucker.
Fuck you, Mask.
I'm never going to see it anyway, so it doesn't matter. I mean, it's...
Everyone is right. This is pretty hot for the painted matter. Sad because the Solitaire plays the mask. 40k will, I agree. So next up, the Infernal Enraptress. 5 wounds with a 5-up save, move 6 inches. So Nath, the Harp Lady. She's got shooting attack, which is 18 inches or 24. 6 attacks if it's at 18 inches, which are 3s, 4s, rend 1, and 1 damage. Or 24 inches, 1 shot is 2s, 3s, rend 3, and does D3 damage. Now, she's got some cool abilities, I think. She's got the Discordant Disruption, which is you reroll successful casting rolls for enemy wizards that are just within 24 inches of the model with this ability. In addition, if the reroll casting roll is a double, that wizard suffers D3 mortal wounds after the effects have been resolved. In addition, this model can attempt to dispel one endless spell at the start of your hero phase in the same manner of a wizard. If it does so, add 1 to the dispelling roll. Now, I like this war scroll. It moves 6 inches, by the way. I like this war scroll because it adds utility into your army, like Hexgorgeous Skulls, right? It's anti-magic. Like, so you're like, cool, I've got something in my book that does anti-magic. And it's like, okay anti-magic. It's not great anti-magic, but it's okay. So I like the war scroll.
The debuff is great, and it's just got a nice little shooting attack as well. It's not a wizard. Yeah, it's all right though. Yeah.
So I would be more tempted to take this for my like depravity summoner, and it also gives me like a cool ability. Like this would be pretty much auto in my list, I think, because I'd be firing those shots out from the lyre just to be trying to get some depravity points from my enemy. So it brings some utility to my army, which I think is really useful. So yeah, what do you think it is points wise?
Oh, I mean, fuck knows what. If I was pointing it, I'd be expecting it to be 80 points again.
Okay, 150 again with a 5-up save. Bless it. Right. So then you've got the Contorted Epitome, which I know you love because you and me have played with it before. 7 wounds with a 5-up armor save, a 2-up save against mortal wounds, which is fairly useful in the meta. It's got Horrible Fascination. At the start of the combat phase, you can roll 1 dice for each enemy unit within 3 inches of this model. On a 4-up, this unit cannot be picked as the target of attacks made by that unit in that phase until this model makes any attacks in that phase. So it has the Always Strikes Last, but it only affects itself.
At the start of the combat phase, you can roll 1 dice for each enemy unit within 3. On a 4-up, the model cannot be picked as the target until the model makes attacks at that phase. Oh, okay. Cool. Yeah.
Right. So it previously used to have the loci as well on a 4-up, but now it doesn't do it for your army. It just does it for itself, if that makes sense. So that's a change. And then the Gift of Power ability, which we kind of skipped, you can reroll casting rolls for this model. But it used to have you could reroll casting, unbinding, and dispelling, but they took unbinding and dispelling off it. So it was quite nice to take that was quite effective because it was quite an effective caster anti-caster that was also really quick. Movement 12 with 7 wounds with a 5-up armor save. It's got 9 attacks base. 3s, 4s, rend 1 that do 1 damage, and it's got 2 attacks that 3s and 4s, rend 2 damage. So it can do a surprising amount of attack. Sometimes when I've seen, I played Joe once, and he used a keeper to plan an attack with this, and I was like, fucking hell, what is going on? What is it? Fuck. And it's fast, right? 12 inches. That's quick.
Yeah.
And then it can also cast 2 spells, which is Overwhelming Acquiescence is its War Scroll spell. If successfully cast, pick D3 enemy units that are within 24 inches of the caster. You can reroll hit rolls of 1 for attacks that target those units until your next hero phase. So that's a cool spell, but it's cast on 7, but you can reroll it. But then it completely invalidates one of the subfactions, which is like reroll 1 to hit. It kind of works quite nicely with monsters, right? Because you want that your Keeper of Secrets, let's say, or Glutos or Archeon even, to reroll 1s to hit. So that's quite nice, I guess. But it's cast on a 7, so you're probably not going to try and cast it.
Well, it's a 2-caster and it's re-rolling, so it's decent enough magic. Yeah.
But 7 plus for re-rolling 1s. Symbol seems unimpressed. It's a pretty rough.
Yeah. Well, it's against how many units? D3, is it?
Yeah.
So, yeah, probably 1 unit. Yeah.
Yeah. So how many points do you think this is? Because it's lost. I mean, it's a re-rolling casting unit.
Yeah, re-rolling casting, 2 spells, and it's super fast, and it's got Horrible Fascination, and it's got 2 up against all mortals. It's decent. I would say this is more in the area of 150. I'll go with 150, probably 160, somewhere there.
Okay, well, the Contorted Epitome is 210 points.
Yeah, everything just is overcosted, crazy.
Yeah. It's like the conversation we had last week with Daughters, right? Where everything is just a little bit too cheap in some ways. Yeah. And a lot of people are having a conversation that they're happy that their book is like powered down, if that makes sense. So it's like more of a mid-range book. But actually, one of the things that I wanted to try and highlight as we talked about the book is that you can make stuff cheaper, but you don't really get anything for them being cheaper. Like, this thing could be 140 points. You think, oh, a 2-cast wizard that can reroll its cast. That's kind of cool. Like, what spells can it cast? Nothing of any note. Like maybe it'll cast a reroll ones to hit thing. Like, okay. Like, you could make the mask cheaper, or the guy that's the rerolls to hit. It's still going to be really hard to manage that rerolls to hit, if that makes sense, and make that effective. So even if they're cheaper, you get more bodies, which is super useful. But this book isn't a book of like overlapping abilities. It's a lot of standalone war scrolls that don't integrate with each other, and there's no like force multipliers outside of a keeper. So the only way to make this book better is to make it cheaper. Anyway, we'll do the much anyway. Like, I get that the conversation. It's a fact that everything is too expensive. That's a flat fact. Yeah. But if you make it cheaper, you just end up with this weird position where you just end up with cheap crap, as opposed to. Am I making sense?
Yeah. The heroes have been all right. It's the ones that we've seen, and it does mean if everything's cheaper, then you got more chance of being able to bring things like Sigvald and maybe the mask and stuff like that can do little bursts of damage around the board. But I mean, if all the troops are priced the same way that these heroes are, then they're proper struggling, aren't they?
See, it makes me think of the difference between Cities of Sigmar and the Gits book, right? So the Gits book, you've got the sneaky snufflers, which are cheap, right? But they like force multiply that big brick or that other unit, all those Boingrots.
Yeah.
Like, they're in there, they're that buff piece. Or the Fanatics, which, if you include them, not that you often do, but if you do include them, they're this unique gameplay piece that you could do something fairly unique with. Like, my point about the book really is that that you've got different roles, and if you make stuff cheaper or more expensive or whatever you do, they kind of integrate with each other. And there's been a joke about how the Gits book doesn't integrate with itself anyway. But when you compare that to this, and then if you go over to the Cities of Sigmar book, what's interesting about the Cities of Sigmar book, because that doesn't really have a lot of war scrolls that necessarily integrate with each other well anyway. Obviously, if you take a general, let's say a dispossessed general, you get dispossessed battle line, and you get some new stuff. So it does in that way, and you obviously have a Rune Lord will benefit the dispossessed, but it doesn't do, it will do fuck all to Phoenix Guard. So there's that disconnect in keywords that exist in Cities of Sigmar, but that's overridden by the quality of the sub-factions, in that the sub-factions give you other ways to play those war scrolls. And this book doesn't have either. It doesn't have the Gits bit where it references itself, and it doesn't have the cities bit where there's the... Anyway, we'll carry on. That was mainly like a... yeah, I'm honestly not trying to drive a point home, because like I enjoyed reading the Daughters book last week, because the Daughters book, when you read it, was obviously someone who played the game. Whether or not it was too cheap, which is, I think, arguable that it definitely is too cheap in some of those points, someone understood that you could make stuff interact with each other, and that would be fun for you as a player and engaging for your opponent. I just don't think this does that. Anyway, so Selesky has got 9 wounds with a 4-up save, moves 8 inches. The Vengeful Allegiance. They've got a weird ability called Deadly Symbiosis, that if you have the same number of mortal and demon units wholly within 18 inches, you get to reroll hit rolls for 1, made by melee weapons for those units. Bit difficult to organise, if that makes sense, but it's a weird rule. That's Deadly Symbiosis. The unit can run and charge on move 8, is really good. And then you've got the Vengeful Allegiance, which is in the combat phase, if the unmodified hit roll for any attack made by a melee weapon that targets model is a 1, add 1 to hit and wound rolls for attacks made by this model that target the attacking in that same phase. So on 9 wounds with a 4-up save, I want someone to hit me first. To be fair, it's a demon though, so if it charged and then it got the locus off, maybe you're only going to be hit with 1, and then you get to +1 to hit and wound, which is quite good. Like, do you know what I mean? If you use the locus and the Vengeful Allegiance together, that's kind of okay.
That's fairly situational, but yeah, that's a thing.
Yeah. And then you've got magic. So it's a wizard, can attempt to cast 1 spell. And it's got Subvert. Subvert's casting value of 7. Successfully cast, pick an enemy hero within 18 inches. That hero cannot use any command abilities until the end of your next hero phase. It's brilliant, right? And then you've got,
good.
Yeah, and then you've got command abilities. Use command ability at the start of your battle shock phase if this model is your general and it is on the battlefield. If you do so until the end of that phase, do not shape battle shock tests for friendly Slaanesh, not mortal, not demon, Slaanesh units that are wholly within 18 inches of this model. Like, all of this is good. This is all quality, in my opinion. Like, run and charge is a bit faster, is a bit tankier, has something that you can situationally use in conjunction with the Locus, is a wizard with a good spell or could choose an okay spell, has Locus, and is pretty decent in a fight. 8 attacks, 3s, 4s, Rend 1, 1 damage, 4 attacks, 4s, 3s, Rend 2, D3 damage. Again, Games Workshop, please, can we stop giving melee weapons that hit on 4s on characters? It's just fucking sad.
Well, yeah, it's the 4s in both of those stat lines that hurt that.
Yeah.
Fortunately.
Yeah. I feel the 4 to hit is more of an issue than the 4 to wound, though.
Oh, it's a fuck up either way, really. if you're on, depends which end of the weapon you're on, but if you're trying to hit something and there's a 4 involved, yeah. it's tough times.
But do you know what I mean about this book having like just a load of value for itself?
Yeah.
Yeah, I like this. I like this. I think I really like the command ability because that immune to battle shock ties in really well with depravity as well. Yeah. Like, because obviously I don't want that unit to run away. So I'm really pro this.
So, demon. Yeah, it's a demon as well, so it's cool. Yeah. It's quite cool.
So how many points do you think for this pair of whatever they are?
So 9 wounds, 4-up save, command ability and a spell. I don't know. 220 points. I think.
Oh, not bad. You're going to be
points.
really happy about this. 200.
Yeah. 200 was, yeah. All right, fair enough.
You'd take this for 200, right?
Yeah, I reckon. I mean, that's just what I was thinking it would be. Yeah, I would take it. It should probably be, again, a little bit less because it's a single model. But yeah, that's all right. 200, fair.
Mm-hmm. So I know there's a load of characters in this. There's a Hellflayer, which we're not going to talk about, which is a chariot. Bladebringer, which is a chariot we're not going to talk about. They've got Acquiescence, which is reroll once to hit as a spell. And they do mortal wounds on the charge. The Seeker Chariots, pretty much the same thing. They're all fairly aggressively pointed. The Hellflayer is 130 points, which is actually the good one. For the points value, which is quite nice. The Bladebringer with the Herald on is 250 points, which is honestly a joke. 8 wounds on a 4-up save. Don't vibe on that at all. It's a wizard, but it's 250 points, which is just fucking nuts. Seeker Chariots, I've got 6 wounds with a 4-up save, and they move 12 inches. And the Seeker Chariots are... What was it again? Sorry, Nath. They're 130 points for units of 1 to 3, which I kind of like, actually. They do D3 mortal wounds on the charge and other stuff.
6 wounds, 4-up save, 130.
130. Yeah. Like, it's not great, but like it's in a book of not great, so I'm like looking for it. And moves 12, can retreat and still charge in the same turn.
Oh, retreat and charge is good, yeah.
Yeah. And then on a 2+ does D3 mortal wounds when it charges. So, I mean, a unit of 3 of them is still, like, only 18 wounds for 390 points, which is pretty wild. So maybe use them as 1s. Like, if I was looking for a depravity generator, this is probably what I'd go for. Like, I can block board space with it for deep strikes. I can control back objectives and just leave them there. Like, I feel like the Seeker Chariot is, like... This is, like, if I was spending some points, like, this is pretty nice. And Battle Line, thank you very much, in Godseekers too. So not bad, the Seeker Chariot. All right, Fiends, Nathan, your boys.
Yeah.
Let's go. Yeah. So move 12 inches. It's got 4 wounds each, and they've got a 5-up save. They come in units of 3 Fiends. I'm pretty certain. And they have got their Deadly Pincers, which is 4 attacks, 3s and 3s, rend 1, and does 1 damage. And the Blissbringer gets to add +1. Crushing Grip, if the unmodified wound roll for an attack made by Deadly Pincers is a 6, and there's 4 attacks with those, the damage turns into D3 instead of 1. So 4 attacks, 3s, not hitting on 4s, 3s, rend 1, doing 1 damage. So that's 12 out of the unit of 3. And any 6s to wound, to wound, is going to cause D3 damage instead. So I quite like that profile.
Decent,
and then they've got the Barbed Stinger, which is if the target of an attack made by Barbed Stinger has a wound characteristic of 1, that weapon has a damage characteristic of 1. If the target has a wound characteristic of 2 to 3, that weapon has a damage characteristic of D3. If the target has a wound characteristic of 4, it's D6. Right? Like, I'm vibing that. I'm vibing that big styly. Like, because you just, it's only one attack. 3s and 3s, rend 1.
But you get it seems to be able to quite easily get buffs to reroll, ones to hit quite easily in this book. And then there is access to rerolls to wound, is there not, somewhere? I saw that.
The rerolls to wound. No, hold on. The rerolls to wound is from the Lord of Pain. No, that's rerolls to hit. Where's the reroll to wound from again?
What was that? Glutus, maybe, or somebody.
Oh, was it? No. Spell? No, it's not spell. The rerolls to wound is from somewhere. I just don't know if it works on demons, is the main one. Because the rerolls to hit only works on mortals. I'll have to... anyway. So, yeah. I don't know where the rerolls to wound comes from. I forget. So sorry about that. But you could maybe get it. But they've got the Disruptive Song, which is subtract 1 from casting rolls for enemy wizards while they're within 12 inches of friendly models with this ability. Which is whatever, but it pairs up quite nicely with the Enrapturous for the reroll successful casting, and that's kind of okay. And then the Sporific Musk is probably the reason that we're having this conversation. Subtract 1 from hit rolls for attacks made by melee weapons that target this unit. In addition, while this unit has 4 or more models, subtract 1 from the wound rolls. So if you took a brick of 6 and you stuck them next to Gluttos, which is kind of the general thinking at the minute, then what you do is you'll end up with these guys, if they're right next to Gluttos, so they're within that 12-inch bubble, they're going to be -2 to hit and -1 to wound, which hopefully makes up for the fact that they've only got a 5-up save with 4 wounds. Yep. But that 5-up save with 4 wounds is comparable to Morsar Guard as a comparison.
Yeah.
And Skyfires and other stuff like that. So and they move fast, 12 inches. Yeah. So do you like these guys? I think these guys are okay.
I still like, I mean, I still like them. How many points are they, though?
Okay. How many points would you want them to be? And also, thank you very much to Pez Job. So it's the Shard Speaker that we talked about earlier that gives the +1 to wound, which is the thing that's wholly within 9 inches. If you remember, not wholly within 9 inches. So you've got to do it in the shooting phase. +1 to wound, okay. And also, if you got the spell off, you could make these guys -2 to be wounded, -2 to be hit. If you threw a Geminids out, -3 to be hit, -2 to be wounded. But it does require that no one shoots them, because all of that only works in melee near Gluttos. So.
Yes. Yeah, they're vulnerable to shooting, aren't they? So whereas something like eels, they don't mind shooting because you can't shoot them.
Yeah.
At all.
Yeah, at all. So they've got there's 3 of them in the unit, Nath. And 3. So how many would you pay for 3 of these?
I don't know.
They're a bit like trolls, right? But slower. Faster than trolls.
160, 170, somewhere there, maybe.
180, so close. 180.
Yeah, it's a little bit on the expensive side, maybe. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, relatively expensive. I mean, they're directly eels are 10 points cheaper.
Yeah, so they shouldn't be more expensive than eels.
No.
But then eels are just crazy.
Yeah. So for the -1 to wound, you have to have a unit of 4 or more, which is also weird that it's 4 or more on units that run into 6, like 3 or 6, right? But whatever.
Yeah, so they want you to double up, don't they?
Yeah.
Don't know why, but they do. Yeah, it's one of those secrets.
We're not going to talk about Hellstriders, even though Hellstriders are fine, because they're just old and whatever. Right, we're going to talk about Mimradesh Painbringers. So they've got 2 wounds apiece, Nath. So these are the new fully armored Chaos Warrior, but for Slaanesh, right?
Yeah.
They move 6 inches, 2 wounds apiece. They've got a 4-up armor save, which is really good in this book, and bravery 7. Yeah? So they've got 2 attacks each, 3s, rend 1, 1 damage, 1 inch range. So they're like Phoenix Guard, only they don't get the additional range, so they can't attack over each other's like wall, if that makes sense. Or they're similar to Mortek Guard in their output. It's 2 attacks, 3s, rend 1. So Phoenix Guard would be a good example of where to compare them. They move 6, so it's not the fastest, but whatever. And they've got, if the unmodified wound roll for attack mode with this melee weapons is 6, it causes a mortal wound in addition. So they're kind of like, in this situation, they're kind of like Blackguard or Executioners.
Yeah.
Is another thing that would be...
so it's in addition, yeah, that's nice. Yeah, it's a bit like a hammerer type thing, actually. But I guess these are on 32s, are they? Not 25s.
32s, yeah.
Yeah. So not really like a hammerer then, because being on a 25 is so much more advantageous. Yeah. So not really. I wouldn't really compare them.
Yeah, I don't think it's... you're right. No. I don't think you can compare them. Chaos Warriors are a good example of something to compare them to, which are 90 points for 5. Painbringer Shields. You can reroll save rolls for attacks made by melee weapons that target this unit. So a 4-up, rerollable save in melee. Isn't bad, right?
Not bad, except everybody's got bloody guns, but yeah, fine.
What do you think the points cost for this 5 wounds? So it's 10 wounds, 5 models, 10 wounds on a 4-up save that can reroll in melee, and they've got 2 attacks each. So you're going to get 10 attacks out of the unit. With no way to give them... can we just talk about this? No way to give them +1 attack. Yeah? Like...
Yeah, I mean, they're pretty similar sort of to like Ard Boys, really. So that sort of range, 90 points.
Okay. The Mimradish Painbringers for 5 are 150 points.
Yeah, that's crazy. Yeah. 90 to 100, you'd be okay with that. 150, I don't understand why.
Yeah, same. They do have exploding 6s, of course. They have exploding 6s. The whole army does, but that's been taken into account. Then you've got the Simbra. Also, wait, hold on. Painbringers. You can take a brick of 20 of these, so you could get it so they get exploding 6s on, but it's going to cost you a ton.
I guess the rerolls to save thing is quite good. So I'm just trying to, if I compare them to Hard Boys, which is a 32mm base, the same combat profile. The shields probably if you compare the shields with the other abilities that Ard Boys bring to the table with their musicians and the banners, which these don't have, then it's on a par. So I don't understand why it's that much more.
How much are 5 Ard Boys?
They're 100 points at the moment. So, yeah.
See, what's interesting about doing some comparison to other units in other armies is that these have been in existence for a while. So when you compare them, it's useful because you ask about the validity of those units in those other armies, if that makes sense. So, like, they're comparable to an Ard Boy, and Ard Boys make it... But Ard Boys, you can, like, smashing and bashing. The bonuses to charge. The book has a teleport. This book doesn't. Like, there are...
I mean, if at the end of the day... if you say all the abilities across all the books should be roughly about the same in equality, so you're just trying to look at the war scroll to see on where the points should go. And okay, these might be a little bit better than a Hard Boy, but not 50 points better than a Hard Boys.
No, but my point is, you can do nothing to the Twin Souls to make them... I mean, there's +1 to wound, and there is a +1 to hit available to them as well. So you could have them on 2s, but you can't do damage 2 on them that you can do on Ard Boys. You know, you can't do teleports. Like, the point is about, you can definitely make this book cheaper, and it's too expensive. But you're just making shit cheaper. Anyway, there's Twin Souls is the other build, Nath. Same thing. 2 wounds, 4-up save. They move 8 inches. They've got 2-inch range on their merciless blades, which is useful for them. 3 attacks apiece. So this unit of 5 are going to have 3 attacks each. So 15 attacks, hitting on 4s, wounding on 3s, no rend, but 2 damage. So a bit like Crypt Horrors on smaller bases.
Yeah.
But with
and
a 4-up save.
And they're faster. They're quite fast, aren't they? I guess that's the thing about those Myrmidon guys is actually they're 2 inches faster than our boys. So yeah.
Yeah,
but I'll still be surprised that maybe 120 if you put but not 150. That's crazy.
So then you've got Cymbrish Twin Souls have got at the start of your hero phase you must pick one of the following abilities. And what's weird is it's at the start of your hero phase you must pick one of the following abilities, and then you must pick a different ability each battle round. Right?
Oh, okay.
So that means you basically choose one to start the game, and then you just alternate.
Yeah.
Yeah. So then you can reroll hit rolls for attacks made by melee weapons from this unit. So 4+ to hit rerolling, it's pretty useful. Yeah. Or they end up on a 5-up DPR.
Okay, that's a weird rule. That is, to be honest.
Yeah. It is a weird, it is a weird rule, like because it was written by someone who doesn't play. But I find that weird. Hold on, let me just get the points up for these. So, how many points do you think that you would pay for these?
I don't know. It's hard one to. It's hard one to price up. This is 8 inches is quite nice. 4+ save. Yeah, 4+ save. They're very hit and miss in combat, and that the rule is weird. But 110, 120. Who knows?
Speckles is like it's like a crap stalker. Ogre Gluttons is a good example. 3 Ogre Gluttons, that's good. 3 Ogre Gluttons are 120 points. 5 Cymbrish. I mean, it's good, Nath. I never have to learn the names for coverage because I'll be like, fucking hell. Is Cymbrish? Oh God, sorry. Are they not in alphabetical order sometimes?
They've got stupid smiley faces, so fuck them.
So 5 of them is 170 points, bud.
Yeah, I think that's too much, but there you go.
Yeah,
probably 50. 50 points too much.
There is a saving grace though for this unit, if you want to know it.
Yeah.
The unit champ is called an ego pomp.
I saw that word. I was like, what the fuck is ego pomp? One model can be an ego pomp. Is he the leader or is he the one that they all kick around?
I don't even know if he's the leader. He just says he can be an ego pomp.
Just gets one extra attack with his merciless blade. Nice.
All right, Nath. On to the winner of the book is the Slangor Fiendbloods. They have the Beast of Chaos keyword, but they don't have Brayherd or anything like that. So unusable, unfortunately, inside. Oh no, they can use it in the Beast of Chaos book, I think, because it's got Beast of Chaos. Is that right?
Yeah, they can go in. They probably can't be synergized with anything, but they can go in there and have a look around, tell them a few secrets. Yeah.
So they've got 3. So they've got 3 wounds each with a 5-up armor save. Okay, so only 3 wounds. They come in units of 3. They move 8 inches, and their bravery 6, which is pretty rough.
Well, that's about right for a beast. They're all about that sort of brave. So
that's true.
Yeah.
That's true.
Yeah.
3 wounds, I think, is rough. Like on because they're on a big base. They're on like a 40, I think.
Are they? Okay.
Yeah. So one model in the unit can be the Slakehorn, and it's got the razor sharp claw and gilded weapon. And the razor sharp claws, the gilded weapon is the important part, right? It's 2 attacks, 4s to hit, 3s to wound, rend 1, and does 2 damage. Yeah. So the champ gets 1 attack. 4s and 3s, rend 1, 2 damage. And it's not even like they've written the rule so like if you have like 6, another one can take a gilded weapon. If that makes sense.
It's just only one of them knows how to carry that thing. Yeah, that's fine.
Only one. And then razor sharp claws is so this is the other 2 and also the main guy have got razor sharp claws, which are 3 attacks apiece, hitting on 4s, wound on 3s, rend 1, and 1 damage. And then you can add 1 to the attacks characters of these units' melee weapons if they made a charge move. So the best situation you're going to get into is you charged, you've got 12 attacks, hitting on 4s, so 6, wound on 3s, so that's 4, rend 1, that means they're going to save, let's just say 1 to be nice. So you can do 3 damage, and then 3 attacks, hitting on 4s, let's just be nice and say they get 2 through, wound on 3s, let's say they get them all through, rend 1, let's say they save 1, that's 2. So maximum not maximum, the average is a good old 5 damage out of the Slangar unit. However, at the end of the combat phase, pick 1 enemy unit within 3 inches of this unit and roll a dice. For each model in this unit on a 4+, the enemy unit suffers a mortal wound. So you can do a little cheeky mortal wound at the end. So let's throw 1 on, 6 damage. How many points, Nath, would you pay for this unit, this combat unit?
Of 3 dudes.
3 dudes.
Why do they hit on 4s? What is wrong with them? I
don't know.
How much would I pay? I don't know if I'd ever pay for them. They're quite quick, aren't they?
Yeah, I mean, they've also only got 3 wounds, so don't forget, you're paying for 9 wounds only on a 5-up save.
That's the problem, yeah. That's 9 wounds, 5-up save. Yeah, I mean, if they're more than 100 points, then that's too much, to be honest.
Okay. Well, they're 140 points.
That's too much, then, to be honest. 9 wounds with a 5-up save. I mean,
9 wounds with a 5-up save for 140 points is mental already. Before you go any further, like,
yeah, I don't know. They, yeah, 100. Yeah.
Anyway, let's move on. So you won't take these.
No. Well.
Okay,
no.
so the 2 other units that you might take, right? Are the Blissbarb Seekers. Oh, do you know what? I haven't gone and give me a second. I haven't, for some reason, gone and got the Archers. Because surely you're going to want to know what the new Archers do, Nath.
Yeah. Well, who's this guy? The Dread Pageant.
The Dread where's I don't know. You have to read them out for me.
Oh, I think it's the Warcry unit or the...
Yeah, it's the Warcry unit.
One of them. Okay.
Right, hold on.
I'll
Blissbarb Archers.
Here we
Let's go.
Yeah, I got them. Do you want me to read it out?
Oh, please, yeah. Wow.
Go on then. Yeah, so they got 1 wound each. They move 6, and they got a 6-up save, and their bravery 6. It's all about 666. And so they got some bows. Blissbarb bows that shoot 18 inches, 2 shots, 4s, -1 rend, 1 damage. And then in a fight, they have got 1 attack, 4s, no rend, doing 1 damage. The High Tempter gets +1 attack to their bow. And then the Blissbarb Homunculus, 1 in every 11 models. Oh, did they come in 11 models? Okay. It must be a Blissbarb Homunculus. The Homunculus is armed with a blade. And you add 1 to wound rolls for attacks made with missile weapons by this unit, while it includes any homunculi. Okay, so it's 4s and 3s most of the time. Cool. Light-footed, they can run and shoot. Okay, they're quite a decent little unit, I would have thought.
Yeah. I mean, run and shoot's pretty cool, right?
Yeah.
That 18-inch. I worry about that 18-inch bow shot though, because it's quite close, and obviously they've only got that 6-up armor save. There's no way to give them a better armor save in the book.
Yeah.
Or give them a DPR.
Yeah, my little Grot Archers only shoot 18 inches and only got a 6-up save, so I'm not bothered. That's fine.
And how many do you get for how many points?
I get 120 points, gives me 20 of them.
So okay.
I mean, these guys outshoot. I mean, they think they are. Their bows sound a lot prettier. I mean, they've got rend for starters, and it's 4s and 3s. Mine are 5s and 5s and 4s or something stupid like 5s and 5s. Yeah, so really crap bows. So these are loads better than them. So so we're talking about 10. Well, it's
No, there are 11. You get 11 in this unit.
Well, one of them's a homunculus, so it doesn't shoot. So you've got 10 archers and a little buffing dude. So 10. So what was the archer? I don't know, 100 points, maybe. It should 90, 100 points, something like that.
160.
Oh, well, okay.
Can I tell you what? Go on, after you.
No, I mean, they're just a fragile unit. 160. That doesn't make sense. How much are the Lumineth archers?
140. I already knew what you said before you said Lumineth archers. They're 140.
That's the same. 160. That's about the same points as an Iron Drake. That's
unit
crazy.
Of 10 Iron Drakes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, like,
that's crazy.
If this unit was 100 points, it's a great unit to have in a book. Yeah, like, it's a great unit to have in the book. And I like everything on its war scroll. Like, all of it. Like, it's a good shooting unit. Well, it's like a medium. It's not like a good shooting unit, but he's going to throw some shots away. Ungol Raiders is probably a really good example of, like, what you want to compare it to. It's like Ungol Raiders, but better. It's better than Ungol Raiders, like, way better. But, like, it's a chaff screen that can shoot, which is genuinely really valuable. Like, I pay 100 points for 10 Chaos Dwarf Fireglaves, right? They move 4 and they shoot 16, but they have a 4-up armor save. And, like, I really like them because if I stick them in cover, it's a 3-up armor save. Like, they're tanky. These things are never going to be tanky. Like, they're on 28mm bases. Not that that really matters.
28mm bases?
28mm bases is the new 25, Nath. So all new stuff will be 28mm bases. That's meant to be. If it was 25, it will now be 28.
Was that just because they don't know how to measure anything at all?
Yeah, the intern just did something wrong.
So on 28mm bases, not that it matters, they're an archer unit, but still weird.
So yeah, like
it's just 160 points is it's just crazy.
It's crazy. It's crazy. Now, one of the arguments I think being made, Nathan, for this unit's inclusion inside the book or into an army list is that you could use it to generate depravity, right? So if I had a unit of just 10 of them, that's 20 shots, and if I just like split fire a little bit and just like wang them into different units, yeah, I might be able to farm myself some depravity, right? Yeah. Also, battle line units is an important point to talk about here with the battle line units. Is that the battle line units available to you are, depending on which host you are, because it does change up. But the Blitzbarb Archers are one of your battle line units, as are obviously Demonettes. But the thing is you survive one combat phase with these guys, right? Like, they, as a screen...
No, they don't survive a combat phase.
That's correct. Thanks. They don't survive a combat phase, and they don't also survive... So they don't survive a combat phase, which is super, super important. In fact, they take any chip damage at all, which is cool, because you might generate some depravity points, but then the rest run away. Like, because their bravery's pretty low.
Yeah, they got to be stood around that guy that does the immune to battle shock, don't they? Celesk or Glutos once he's powered up. But otherwise, yeah, they're pretty scared.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. But then, so don't forget, we could take these in that battalion that shoot twice, right? So that's pretty crazy because that's 60 shots that you fire twice in the hero phase and the shooting phase. But again, it's never going to survive. Whereas if you compare them to the Lumineth Archers, right, like, which are cheaper, super important to point out there, like, and you would pay for all day, 140 points. They've only got that 5-up base save, but obviously that they can get a 5-up DPR coming out of Teclis. And also, if they're in Sire, let's say, or even if they're not in Sire, they can give themselves +1 save. So they
but they're wizards, aren't they? Anyway,
and they're also wizards, yeah. And
they're wizards.
They do more wounds at range.
Yeah, they shoot so much further. They don't need to see what they're shooting at. Whereas these guys have got to get fairly close.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Wow. Yeah, that's crazy price. 160 points is nuts.
If these were 100 points, I 100% could see you wanting to use them in your book. Like, that's 60 points cheaper. By the way, Salamanders, like, when Salamanders came out, and I was like, look, Salamanders are busted as fuck, and everyone was like, no. Like, they've only gone up 30 points, and they're still smashing tournaments. Like, the chances that these are going to come down by 60 points in a GHB is very unlikely. Like, and they need to be 100 points. Like, anyway, so the Blissbarb Seekers, Nate. So these are archers, but they're on top of the Seekers. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
They got four wounds apiece. They have got a 5-up armor save, but they move 14 inches, so they're super quick. They've got that same bow that is 18-inch range, but it's got 3 attacks now instead of 2. They hit on 4s and they wound on 4s. No bonus to wound, unfortunately, but they've still got rend 1, and you get a unit of 5 of these. The unit can run and shoot, so it's got that 20-inch move potentially, and then shoot 18 inches. So pretty good. And any wound rolls made by the bows of a 6 are going to cause a mortal wound, which is genuinely pretty great, right?
Yeah, these guys got better bows that shoot more arrows and do mortal wounds. Cool.
Yeah. And they're also a unit of so there's 5 of them in the unit, so it's 20 wounds in the unit. Yeah, which is significant, right?
Yeah.
And you can add one to this. You can add one to the attack characteristic if you've got the High Tempter as well. And they're also okay in a fight, like because they've got like some chaffy attacks on the Poison Tongues, which are 2 attacks apiece, 3s and 3s. So 10 attacks that are 3s and 3s that do 1 damage isn't terrible if you're looking to use them as like something. I think the bonus about these though is that so 20 wounds, right? 20 wounds out of a unit on a 5-up save is rough, but 20 wounds is still good. How many points do you think they are?
I don't know what to compare it against in my head.
Skyfires, maybe, because they move fast. No, but Skyfire's a great combat unit.
Skyfires come in 3s as well, don't they? So.
What about Wolf? Did you ever have Wolf Archers? Oh, How about Spider Riders? Similar, right? The Spider Riders move 12.
but these are 4-wound models, so.
But you're going to get yeah. So how many?
So
wounds?
I mean, if you base it on that, Spider Riders are 2 wounds. So if you base it on that, then these guys are twice the price of Spider Riders. So it doesn't go on. But I mean, the archers were 160 points, so these guys have got our animal, but then half the number of 200 points.
180. So you're laughing, right? So you can have the 10-foot archers.
Yeah, because nobody knows what the hell. Yeah, I mean, even at 180, it's probably a little bit on the expensive side, but yeah. Fair enough.
So do you know what a unit maybe to compare them to is Daughters of Cain, yeah? And we'll compare them to Bloodstalkers, who have a 24-inch bow that's 2 shots each, 3s, rend 1, and they do 1 damage, and any to hit rolls of a 6 do a mortal wound. Now they're 2 wounds each with a 5-up save. Does anyone remember how many points Bloodstalkers are in the chat, please? But yeah, so 24-inch range, they move 8 inches. So they've got kind of like a similar profile, but they're actually further. I think I'd rather move slower but have a longer range gun, if that makes sense, because I'm further away. But they've got a 5-up save on 2 wounds each, so you end up with 5 of them. And then they do mortals on 6s to hit as opposed to wound, and they're 3s, not 4s. So 3s and 3s rend 1, and they come in at 140 points. So you do end up with twice as many wounds out of the Blissbarb Seekers as you do out of the Bloodstalkers, which is okay. You don't end up with as good a shooting attack, which is okay, but they're cheaper. So it's they're such a weird disparity.
This is such a strange unit. It's just like really fast. It's actually got quite a number of yeah, it's got a decent amount of wounds, fairly shit save. But and its shooting is okay, but it's not anything special.
Mm.
It is a strange, like it's quite a weird unit to price up. What is it doing? What does the unit do?
What's its job? Also, do you know what's weird about this unit? Is it's weird if you make it cheaper. Because 20 wounds for 180 points is like, yeah, okay. Like that's not, I'm on with that. But if you made this like unit like 140, you're like, that's a problem. Like, that's a big screen. Like, it's not very brave, like, at all. Like, bravery 6. So you can make these run away. But, like, if you put, like, and I mean, it's not got a very good armor save either, but, like, they could cause some real issues in, like, wounds put on the board, if that makes sense.
I don't think so. I don't think it's that bad. I mean, 20 grots is 120 or 130 points, depending what type of grot it is. And to be honest, okay, these guys are a hell of a lot faster, and it's the speed which is a good thing. But it's like, where are you going so fast? Because there's only those objective things, so we're all getting sort of funneled into one place anyway.
And also there's some points being made. Obviously, Bloodstalkers, thanks Pete, they've got all the overlapping buffs. You basically can't buff these guys. You can get some reroll ones to hit, like, sure, like, that's available for the army. And also Pete points out that Blight Kings are 21 wounds for 140 points. So yeah, a weird unit. I agree with you. It's a unit that doesn't understand what it wants to do, and is pointed appropriately.
I mean, in real life it would be great but it's not in real life. It's on a table, so you're kind of hampered by the boundaries of the game that you're playing, and that it's like an objective-based game. So, are they supposed to be running around the back and like disrupting wizards and things, or buffing pieces?
That's a lot for 180 points. Like,
Yeah.
So then the last unit, which might see a lot of play, is the Slickblade Seekers. So same unit, Nate, 4 wounds, 5 up save, 14-inch move, but it's the melee version, right? Now, the melee version, they've got 2-inch range on their glaives, which is fairly useful. They've got 3 attacks apiece, hitting on 3s, wound on 3s, rend 1. If the unmodified wound roll for an attack made by the Slickblade glaive is a 6, that attack inflicts 1 mortal wound on the target in addition to any normal damage. Yeah. Right?
In addition, cool.
In addition. So, out of this unit, there's 15 guys. There's 5 guys, sorry. So you get 15 attacks, and then you've got the Poison Tongues, which is another 10 attacks that are 3s and 3s, no rend 1 damage. So 25 attacks out of the unit,
it's quite
right?
Nice unit, yeah.
It's quite nice, right? And it's also 20 wounds. It's also got, like, a bit of a problem that's on that 5-up armor save at Bravery 6. So, like, it has to, like you said, Age of Sigmar is a lot more like chess than it ever was, where normally you hit with a unit and you lift the other person's unit. It's about board control and engagements that you want to create. Now, obviously, there's some super tanky units, and there's a lot more to that. But this unit, if it hits, will do okay damage.
Yeah.
Do you know, it's not buffed up pigs. That's what I compare them to. 3 buffed up gore grunters. Or not even buffed up, just given War Chant a 1 buff. There's also no way to really buff these. You got the +1 to wound, if you've got the Shard Speaker nearby, and also maybe rerolls to hit, but that requires 2 characters, which is 300 points, to be wholly within 12 and within 9 of the enemy, to create that buff, if that makes sense. Yeah. And that's weird, because those characters move 6 inches, and these guys move 14. So, how do they play with each other? That's weird. But you can also reroll charge for the unit, instead of run and charge, which I would think run and charge would have what I would put on, but whatever. Anyway, what do you think points-wise for these guys?
Probably about the same as the bow and arrow guys. Maybe a little bit more, but I don't know anymore.
You don't know anymore. You're done.
Don't know. Yeah.
So they are the Slickblade Seekers. As our final one are 200 points, which is 30 points more than Eels, the same as Skyfires, the same as Colonel Hunters. And like comparing apples and oranges, I get it, but 200 points. Like they're not a bad unit, and don't forget you can put them in the battalion where you can do that pile in 6. Yeah, and then you've obviously also got. You got a Keeper of Secrets where you could pile in an attack with them twice, but you almost have to take a Keeper of Secrets to make this unit go. And also, if anything slaps it back, they're going to get battered. They've got a 5-up armor save. Like, they've got a lot of wounds, but like, it's 200 points for 20 wounds. Like, it's not a load of wounds. Like, if you actually write lists out, a lot of the Slaanesh lists that I'm seeing at the minute, if you're taking just the Slaanesh book, you end up with like 110 to 130, which is like 140 is where I put the average at the minute. I'll get the actual stats on that in a few weeks, and we're hoping. But they're just very expensive, and they also are a cavalry unit that like runs off and does like it's an unsupported. Do you know what I mean? Like it's unsupported, just runs off. Keeps up with the Keeper of Secrets, so there's something to be said for there. So yeah. Anyway, that's the book, Nath.
Yeah, I mean, you got exploding 6s and all of that, haven't you? But still, it's just, yeah, it's a toughie. I think they're just the pricing on the units is crazy.
Like I agree with you. I definitely think the points are like over the top, like in all the different ways. But you know, from like.
They could do with some of these guys being able to fly as well, because nothing flies.
That's true. That's true. They're all hitting screens like they're going out of fashion. I would say one of the things, like I think maybe someone who's listening to this will be like, "Oh, you forgot about summoning." Not really though. Like you could put down. Definitely you need to put down another 60 demonettes to make this army close to viable, but your army has to army has to compete against your opponent and score objectives at the same time as trying to summon, which is weird. And all of your characters, here's where it gets really weird in my opinion, Nath. Like, so you can summon from the Fane, which, like, had they not put that rule in, I would have been like, this book is like dead on arrival, because all your characters are going forward, and so summoning near your opponent, I mean, you do want to summon near your opponent, but you want to be able to, like, give yourself some room, or you want your characters to be alive, which is
yeah.
But I like if someone held a gun to my head and was like, play this list, I'd play Fat Across and I'd play 90 demonettes in the battalion is where I'd start, and then I'd walk backwards. But for a competitive army, like just hide in a corner,
away from the gun.
But yeah, like it's a weird book. It's a weird book because even if you make everything cheaper, none of it really integrates with itself. Like that's the weird part about me. Like rerolls to hit, buffs to hit, buffs, anti-buffs to wound, spells that like doesn't really like nothing really sings out from the book as like having a fun ability. If that really makes sense. Am I making sense?
Yeah. It looks like it'll be a toughie to play. I mean, there are a few little things like that Shard Speaker guy. When we were talking about the War Scroll, I was like, his stuff is all too short range and stuff. But you've got to take guys like that with to make just everything else work. But it's also expensive.
Yeah, I guess so. That's why I think it's really interesting asking you about it, because you have those buff pieces in your book, like the Shard Speaker. Like I would say is comparable maybe to some of the Grok characters. Like, but
he's comparable to like the dude in the Gobblepalooza really, because it's all short range little buffs and debuffs. But that's why you don't see that guy very often. It's just because they're pretty hard to get into the right places to be able to do their stuff.
Yeah, that's the tough part.
And
also
he was 150 points, wasn't he? That guy.
150 points.
Wow.
Yeah. I also feel like the book, like, so like if we talk about the book itself, some people see this as positive, some people see it as a negative. Like I was talking to Vince about this. Vince is like, I only want to bring stuff from this book to play. I don't want to bring stuff from Beasts of Chaos or Slaves to Darkness into this list. I feel that's a bit short-sighted in some ways, because if I've got a really cool Karkadrak of Slaanesh that's like been like, you know, I've painted it up and it's like Karkadrak Lord on Karkadrak, sorry, or even a Chaos Sorcerer Lord on Manticore or on foot of Slaanesh, I'd want to put that in my cool Slaanesh army, right? Because they're dedicated to the Slaanesh god. I think that's a cool bit. I think like I like that personally. But when you bring them into your army, none of them, they don't interact in any way, shape, or form. Like, you don't get Exploding Sixes, so and Marauders are obviously bent, but like, if you wanted to do Chaos Warriors, you don't get Exploding Sixes. Chaos Knights, Marks of Slaanesh, you don't get Exploding Sixes. None of that really works. I don't think the command ability from the Keeper, is it just Slaanesh from the Keeper? 1 second. It's a Hedonite unit on the Keeper, so you can't use the Pile and Attack twice on any of those Slaves of Darkness.
Yeah, the only Slaanesh one was Celeste, was it? Was that? No? Yeah, Celeste one was the only one that mentions Slaanesh.
Yes.
The rest of everybody else was Hedon. Yeah, Celeste, yeah.
Yeah. And so what's interesting is you go, okay, none of the melee units are very good, but the army is designed for melee because of Exploding Sixes. Yeah, like that's like Exploding Sixes, like, and also the pile-in is also a melee focus. So 2 of the main battle traits are focused in melee, and none of the melee units are overly very good or very effective. But it feels like it's a melee book, right? Because you've got the command ability for pile and attack twice, the command ability from Fatacross, which is heal, like is in melee as well, and also the -1 to hit is within 12 inches, which is melee range. So it feels like all of the buffs are melee buffs. Like anything that I'm doing in the book is melee orientated. But then I don't have a melee army. I don't have anything to do. Like I don't have.
Yeah, you've got no beat stick. Like there's no proper melee units. Everything hits on 4s. Unless you take those the riders that we saw just now. But I mean, you'd need a crazy big unit. It's just don't know. They're too expensive. Yeah.
Do you know what? If I we've done all we can really say on this now. But like, if I was a Slaanesh player, I'd just be disappointed. Like, ultimately, is how I'd feel, because there's loads of awesome kits, and like, Sigvald's a cool piece. Fatacross and Sigvald. Like, I'm just gonna go to town and say at least Sigvald's like a cool model that will be kind of fun, right?
Yeah, and
like,
he's pretty good in melee. So there you go. That's your melee. You can take how many units? How many can you take in a unit? I'll Sigvald.
See, what's also interesting is maybe one of the good ways to play this book is to have Archeon and Fatacross going together. Although that's a lot of points. That's 1,200 points, right? Because he can heal Archeon, and then Archeon gets access to all of the buffs, of which there are none available to Archeon because he's a Hedonite, apart from Exploding Sixes. But what is kind of interesting about that is even bringing Archeon in is bringing a model from another book. Yeah, he's got the Hedonite keyword, and he's the Lord of everything, but really, Slaves to Darkness thing. Like, anyway, it's a weird book anyway. I think is where I'm at. Like, and it's been confusing. And I've watched people struggling, like trying their hardest to try and make this book work for themselves. Like, and it's just, I don't know. I'm just disappointed really for the Slaanesh community. I think that's a bit rough. And they've got such cool new models. So yeah. Anyway, but Nath gives you a book you can play against with the Gits and the Sylvaneth and the Beasts of Chaos. So that's nice.
Yeah, I mean it's a challenging book. So if they're up for a challenge, then they should have some fun with that, trying to get some wins out, and you'll yeah, you'll have some fun with it still, I'm sure.
Well, actually, oh, go on, carry on. Sorry.
It's just if compared to what it was, it's definitely been toned down. And then if you compare it to the other book that came out at the same time, it's just chalk and cheese, isn't it? So
yeah, I think that's probably one of the most startling parts. Really, is that it's quite clear that there are two different rules writers, and that's quite scary for everyone who already has a book. Like if you're because look at what happened with Sylvaneth. It was just a disaster of book design, start to finish. You can make stuff cheaper, but it's just a bad book. It doesn't functionally, like the Slaanesh book, doesn't work with itself. Whereas the Daughters of Cain book is too cheap, and all of it works with itself. And some of it's just over the top, like Morathi. I think Morathi never dying for 2 turns, while he's unique, is I don't think very engaging ultimately. The thing for me though is if there's a new Uruk book on the horizon, let's say Nathan, or the Gravelords book, which I'm very excited about. I feel like I'm going to become a long-term Gravelords player. I'm scared. I'm please don't write my book, idiot person. I just want that one guy, or I don't know. Actually, this is a question I want to ask you, because this is a question that came up. No, this has been kind of a retort, and I'd like to ask you, and I'd like to ask the chat as kind of a final question.
Yeah.
So let's not talk about the power level between Daughters of Cain and Slaanesh, although the power level is obviously starkly different. What I think is true, this is my statement, what I think is true is that the Daughters of Cain book works within itself. Overlapping buffs, synergies, there are sub-factions that kind of change stuff around. It's a book that can do a lot of things, right?
Yeah.
Okay. And the Slaanesh book, if this is fair, this is kind of the premise, doesn't do any of that. Doesn't really have... you got fight twice on one character, and then, that's it. It doesn't really work with itself, I think. That's how I feel. Battalions don't really work with itself. The spell lore doesn't. Command traits, artifacts, none of that. It doesn't really work with itself. So my question is, the Slaanesh book is going to be a mid-tier book, and the Daughters of Cain will be a good book. But, why that is might be because of points. But my question to you is, Nath, which would you prefer to have as a book? Would you prefer to have a book that is mid-tier because it's designed badly, or would you prefer to have a book that is mid-tier but still designed to integrate well? Let's say you put all of the Daughters of Cain points up by 100%, literally doubled the points of all the Daughters of Cain book. That wouldn't mean that those synergies don't work with each other, but if you half all the points of Slaanesh, half them, all of those synergies, which aren't really there, don't really interact with each other. Does that make sense?
Yeah, well, I mean, there are some synergies in that book, but it's just, I think the points are just too... I do think it's down to points in that book, because those elite infantry units, they are quite fighty. They're not bad, but it's just they're just priced that you can't take enough units. But if you could, and then you could get your seeker out, your keeper of secrets out there, making you fight twice, and you could get your buffs to hit and to wound, then I think you've got a decent army, and you can play around with that. But it's just, I don't think you're starting with a good enough army, because everything costs just too much. And it's not just too much by a little bit, it's a lot. I think the level of synergy in the book is okay, it's not as good as in the Daughters of Cain book, for sure, or like a Sylvaneth book, but I think it's at a level which I would find quite fun to play with, and I would be quite happy to play with a book like that. It's just not being able to take the units to play that game, really, just because I don't, without writing a few lists, I just don't see how you can take enough units to be able to buff them, because you'll be picked off before you get anywhere, because you've still got to be able to take You don't have a flying army, so you've still got to be able to take screens and stuff, and the buffing pieces, and the actual units to do the fighting. And my gut feeling is, from hearing those points, is that you won't be able to afford those things.
Okay. All right. So interesting that we sit on different places with where the synergy you think is, because I don't think the synergy is there. Like in some ways, like the pain, like the Lord of Pain, like buffing the Painbringers, for example, like or only the demon heroes. So Sigvald not getting access. I just don't see it. Like I think once players play it out, they're going to be like, oh, actually, I don't have access to different things. I don't actually have rerolls to hit on this unit. I only have it on these units, and these units are different.
Yeah, I guess from playing Gits is where I'm used to that sort of a thing. So I'm fairly okay with playing that now. I mean,
but don't
sometimes
you consider that to be a negative of the Gits book?
Yeah, but it's also a challenge, and it's part of the challenge of playing that book is to be able to work your way around that. So sometimes I enjoy that aspect of it. Yeah, sometimes it's a bit frustrating when you think instinctively these grot fanatics are grots, and then suddenly you realize they're not grots, and so you can't give them a certain buff, or they don't count towards units that you can use. You need to be able to generate attacks from your fancy magic item that you've taken. Yeah, so sometimes it can be a little bit annoying, but it becomes part of the challenge of playing the book. So, yeah.
Okay, fair enough. It'd be interesting to see people trying to pick it apart. I think that's, for the bit for me, it feels uninspirational. And I know something being said in the chat is that it's nice that it's a fat middle book. I think that's a real weak argument. And I'll give you a quick one as to why, which is something I'm going to talk about later on in the week in one of the daily shows, is that the fat middle exists because LLV did the stats with me, and we talked about that 40 to 60% win rate. The fat middle exists because we had that conversation, because I gave Games Workshop the slack to allow there to be a win rate between 40% and 60%, which is actually ludicrous. Like, I'm going to, this week, criticise myself on a show, because really 40 to 60% is pretty fucking wild if you actually go into the game. Like, if you compare it to other competitive games. Like, and also, that's across different skill levels, which is also really important as well, because we talk about this a lot, different skill levels being able to produce different effects, and also, like, and different results. 45 to 55 would be much better. And when you have something that can peak above the fat middle, and something that's geared directly into the fat middle now, in the meta that it's in, like, if it gets cheaper, maybe it does a bit better, but it doesn't do any better, because it's not geared towards the meta that exists. That's why it's a bad book, because it's released into the game that already exists, and the game that already exists kicks its ass. Like, you can make it cheaper, and it still kicks its ass. That's where I feel like it's disingenuous to be like, it's cool that they released a shit book because you can be shit with everyone else who's shit. I think it's a really crap argument. Like, anyway, doesn't matter. It's a narrative channel anyway, so it's fine. But anyway, so more people play those 40 to 60% over army books, only according to Vince's poll, not according to all polls, and definitely not according to competitive stats. That's the important point, actually, Shinros. So I wouldn't be using that as an argument either. But more on that on another show. I think that's the important point. Nath, thanks for going through that. It's been a fun 2 weeks, right?
Yeah. So, yeah, they've brought a lot of stuff to the table. Daughters of Cain, they've got to be happy with their books. And then them Slaanesh people, they've got a bit of a secret to unpick to make that fucking thing work.
I've seen people doing it. A lot of it orientates around people taking Chaos Warriors from another book just for cheap battle line. I think is a thing. People going Lurid Haze is another example. That Seeker Cavalcade, which I talked about before, and then using 6-inch piling, double activating Slick Blades is like a potential build. I think one of the most interesting things about this book is that Fatacross is at that 400-point allyable area, so you can go into other armies, let's say like Nurgle. Yeah, so that -1 to hit bubble is pretty scary if he's right behind 30 Plague Bearers.
Oh, yeah. Or with a load of Blight Kings, yeah.
Load of Blight Kings is another example. So, yeah, I think... and I agree with what Colonel Cabbage said as a final point. They shouldn't be unpicking secrets. They should be keeping them.
Fair enough. Yeah.
Anyway, you got any plans this week?
No, just Warhammer-wise, not really, obviously. Still waiting for stuff to happen. I will continue trying to rescue the Gargant, which I think is looking a lot better, actually.
You can do it.
So, yeah. Get the Gargant done, and then I've got 2 Arachnaroks that I've got to paint up. So, there's one in black. So, yeah. I'll sort out my Arachnaroks. And some spiders. I think, I need to get on with my spiders. So I'll do that this week, though. But yeah, those will be my things on the hobby that I've got lined up for myself at the moment. Gargant, spiders, and spiders. And you?
Painting terrain. Painting terrain. But looking forward to it. Really am. We got all the mats delivered now. So I'm going to try and color match the basing of the terrain to match with the tables. Also, can't wait to start writing stories for them as well. Probably not something I'm going to do anytime soon. But each board's going to be a setting in the Age of Sigmar somewhere. Cool. Or some sort of setting anyway, which I think will be super cool to do. So you'll play on a named board as opposed to just the city one is going to be Ollie Town, for instance, and some other stuff. So I'm really looking forward to that. I think that'll be super fun as a project. It's a lot of terrain to do. I've done 4 pieces out of 80. So 76 to go. But some of it I think should be quicker, which I'm looking forward to. So yeah, really looking forward to that. It's going to get crack on. Thanks, Nate, for today. I loved it.
Thank you. Yeah,
thank you to everyone in the Twitch chat. Loads of love. Thanks for being here. Appreciate you all. Appreciate all your comments. Even if we don't agree, I appreciate you being here to not agree with each other about it. I think that's really healthy for us to all have that conversation. And if you have any thoughts and want to leave them in the comments on YouTube, I would obviously love to hear it. So loads of love. To you all. Thank you to Wolf Priest Kajal for doing root canal surgery for 2 hours while we were live. That's pretty impressive. Thanks to everyone on Patreon. Thanks to everyone who listens to the podcast. Nathan, you got any shout-outs before we go?
I'll shout out the Rage of Sigmar lads. I was listening to their podcast today. Very funny. So, yeah.
Agreed.
I'll shout them 2 out.
Yeah. Go have some love with that. Yeah, great. You guys have a great day. See you soon.